Good morning, everybody. This is the Oskar Quentin Show, where I debate politics and whatever I feel like talking about with the people who call in on TikTok Live to answer the prompt or talk about what's going on in America or, I don't know, philosophy sometimes. Whatever happens. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, there'll be a pinned comment telling when the first oppositional call starts, and you can find more detailed timestamps in the description. Discord today, because I'm without my production assistant. I have two people who work for the show, but they both happen to be busy during showtime today. So just me, all to my lonesome. How quaint. God, seriously though, thanks for making the show successful enough for me to be able to hire staff to run it with me. Fucking crazy that I get to do that. In fact, in addition to getting to hire some staff, I got to buy some gear yesterday. So finally got a better camera, got some better cans. The producer's seat over there has the same headphones, so we have identical monitoring, so we can actually teamwork on the audio troubleshooting now. Thanks Kronos for the $5. Kronos sent $5 because he is gonna not be in the chat today. He says stuck at work, so I'll be in the background until I have lunch. Have a great stream, y'all. And Snake gifted 5 memberships so that people can join the members only stream, which happens Sunday evening. Happened just last night, which is why I slept in a little bit. The members only stream is really fun. One of the things we talked about is that people think that a streamer's personality can really be found through their show, but I don't fill dead air this aggressively when I'm just chilling. So you get to see a little bit more of what I'm just actually like if you come hang out in the members stream. Or come find me at a gig in Minneapolis. Have a beer with me. I'm a pretty normal person. That's not true. I'm a weirdo, but I'm not as much of a weirdo as I am on the show. This is aggressive radio, Oscar. Oh, we had somebody in the multi-guest request queue, but they left. I'm guessing they were a troll who was just hoping to get in here quick. Lots of trolls yesterday, but yesterday was an interesting show. Dean Withers popped by, which was pretty cool. We had this pretty thorough destruction of a Philbro. I guess I should correct what I said, because I think I said on the air that it was the most thorough destruction of an abortion argument ever. I don't think me and Dean Withers so thoroughly destroyed the abortion argument. I think that no particular person defending pro-life ideas had been that thoroughly destroyed by me. It was that particular Philbro who was actually a religious fundamentalist hiding in a Philbro's clothing. But I think we're going to start it a little bit friendly today, because we have IowaGolfer in the request queue, who at this point I just call a friend of the show, even though he started his opposition and now he's kind of in the middle, and I think he's a good guy. How you doing, IowaGolfer?
Hi, Oscar. How's it going, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Hey, I just wanted to hop in real quick. I probably should have just texted you, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Any chance you play golf?
No, the last few times I've been brought to a driving range, I've gotten good enough at it to have fun, but I would embarrass myself playing golf with you if that's the ask.
Okay. Well, I got a tournament coming up in Mankato, actually, so I was going to see if you wanted to meet up and play golf, but that's okay.
I would go to Mankato to play golf with you.
You would?
I would. Are you that taken aback? Mankato's not that far away. I don't mind driving. He's teacupped. I'm going to take a moment to get my backup account in the stream. Oh, what, do I have the wrong one selected? Whatever. We'll just do Oskar Quentin 2 today. I had to switch it yesterday because my backup account got a ban while muted. How bizarre. We were speculating about whether or not the auto system that... no audio on YouTube? Sorry, YouTube. I got it fixed. YouTube could not hear IowaGolfer. My bad. He is coming up to Mankato for a golf tournament. He wants to play some golf with me. Oopsie daisy. I can fix that in post. The people watching this after the fact will not have that problem. Yay, because it's recorded on the TikTok side as well. I think IowaGolfer probably got a phone call. That's what tends to happen. Yeah. Yay, recording the show redundantly so that if such a mistake happens, I had the... let's get this... Hold on, let's see. There we go. I had, I just had the desktop audio channel muted over on the YouTube side, but it's recorded both on TikTok and on the YouTube side, so I can fix that later. Oopsie daisy. Little bit of extra workload. Hello, Kale. He just became a member over on YouTube. Let's see. Sorry about that little mix-up. Yeah, they figured it out from context, but I couldn't remember what I'd said to Iowa if I had mirrored his part of the conversation enough for people to get what was going on. About 3 times in the like 100 or so episodes of this show I've done, because I did do a pretty full 2-hour episode of this show for like a few weeks before I started numbering them, about 3 times it has completely saved my butt that I record the show in 2 completely different ways and in 2 completely different formats with 2 different pieces of software to 2 different drives on my computer. Every now and then one of them has a problem, which, you know, that one is just a friendly call with IowaGolfer. You know, the show would have survived without it. Could have just put in some voiceover, like whoopsie daisy, what didn't have the call audio on the YouTube stream. But yeah, yay me making this more complicated than it needs to be, because it makes the fucking show better. Do I look better? It is a new camera. This is like I need to get better lighting so we can get better dynamic range and like some better color for the shot. But like resolution wise, I should look way less crunchy than I normally do, because I have been using the same webcam for fucking 15 years. I bought the thing to live stream video games when I was a kid. Logitech C920, steal my heart. You made it so far. You didn't make me any money streaming when I was a teenager, but a lot of this show has passed through that Logitech C920 that I've had since I was a kid. I got it's a Elgato Facecam, the 4K one, which I think is pretty much like industry standard. I was on the edge of just buying like a camera, which is I think what Dean Withers does. I'm pretty sure we're looking at him through a proper DSLR that he's then plugging in with USB as a webcam, because I think that his camera quality does look objectively better than a lot of other streamers. Did I just kill somebody else today? Is that what I'm reading? Where's my Discord? Shit. Fuck. I'm sure there's an update about that I missed. I slept in today and I started the show early because I was up late doing the members stream. Give me a ping on that in Oscar's live so I don't have to dig around the news sources. We're gonna talk to the combo man in the meantime. But fuck, I mean, it might be a bigger news day than that. The combo man, we're gonna see if we get a interesting conversation. Hello, how old are you?
I'm 25, turning 26.
Okay, do you support Trump?
No, I'm actually Sudanese.
Sorry, just looking for Trump supporters. Specifically at the beginning of the episode, I really try to keep it to oppositional debates. We've got El Muja Dean Guapo PS. I don't know. Let's see how I did. Santana's video does look fantastic. He has a really good setup. I kind of like the honesty of this setup, because it is always kind of like a disaster behind me, and the stuff that's sitting here is often just the stuff that has been sitting there from me like doing music work. And sometimes it's quite messy. But like this was the setup before I started doing debate streams. Michael, are we gonna debate with Michael? Is he gonna bring me?
I did not mean to join.
No worries, Michael. W's in the chat for Michael. All right, we got nobody in the request queue, so we're gonna do it live. We're gonna just go and look at some news. Did I get the correct? Let's see if I have the correct Chrome window up. Yes, I do, if we need that. One person, I can move it. I can put it on the screen. One person killed in Maine shooting involving ICE. House Speaker says, that's today, right, the 13th. A person was killed in a shooting in Maine involving a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement on Monday morning, State House Speaker Ryan Fecteau said. The police department in Biddeford, Maine, said in a statement that it responded to an incident involving ICE personnel at the intersection of Poole and Hill Streets on Monday morning and has provided security and was providing security at the scene. The department directed inquiries about the incident to ICE. Fecteau said on Facebook that the state police and the State Department of Public Safety were on the scene gathering details. He said he didn't immediately have other information to provide. Maine shooting comes after deadly incident in Houston. Yeah, so I have a report to read, but from one of my Discord members about what happened in Houston, because it does appear, based on the footage that I've seen, because I've looked through some of it, that the story in Houston doesn't add up, which is not surprising. So it fucking goes with the situation that we're in. Well, I have to do the honest thing and say that that's not enough information for me to go by. obviously suspect this was probably not a good situation. I mean, no situation where somebody gets shot is a good situation, but I'm a person on the left who's willing to admit that there's like the practical possibility that they were going after somebody horrible who drew a firearm on them, and it's like, okay, I also would have shot him, but I don't know the details. We don't have any details, so I'm sure the Discord's telling me the same thing. Doesn't appear to be much information, so we're gonna wait for more to come out. And as we always say, let us just hope that there's video, because if there isn't video, it's just not, Keith Porter is just lost in the news cycle because there isn't footage from 8 different angles for people to argue about on TikTok Live. Even with the footage, people still think that what happened to Alex Preddy was okay. People still think that what happened to Renee Good was okay. So the more footage, the better. That's why you need to film law enforcement. It's like everybody's duty right now. We have like a police state issue going on. Film them, because if you don't, they can just fucking lie. They can wear body cams and say they weren't. They can wear body cams and just not release it for some fucking information. Why haven't we seen body cam footage of Alex Preddy? They were out. There were body cams present. Ashton Caravelli. Ashton.Caravelli. Going to...
What's his name?
Hello. I think you're driving a car, so I'm going to disconnect you. Yeah. All right. Ooh, I'm also gonna, let's get this fixed on YouTube, because I need to make sure that we stay set up. So I need to put the top of the backup account down there, but now I'm too high. But this camera's 4K, so there's room for me to move it down. There we go. Haha. Yes. Okay, that's better. Amanda McNamara. McCamara? Not McNamara. Amanda McCamara. Hello. How old are you?
I'm 56.
You're a Trump supporter?
And I live in Iowa.
Okay. Are you a Trump supporter?
Well, I didn't vote for him. I voted for Taylor Swift. I wrote her in, but sometimes I think I don't know where I don't know where I stand in that, I don't know if I'm left wing or right wing, because I hate the hate that is coming from the right wing, but sometimes I disagree with the left wing. So I'm kind of categorizing myself as a centrist in some circumstances, but I don't know, really.
Okay. I think that the important thing to consider right now is that when I look at American politics, for somebody like you, who maybe doesn't know exactly like where they sit on the spectrum, I think that what's going on in America is not really about the political spectrum right now. You and I might disagree on abortion. You and I might disagree on some social values, like how we should handle members of the LGBTQIA plus community in society. We might disagree about how we should tax people to pay for social programs, things like that. I would love to get back to an America where that's the most important stuff for us to talk about, because I think all that stuff is really, really, really important. I'd love to sit here and figure out where we agree and disagree on that stuff. But I think it is so much more fundamentally important than any of that the government function in the way that it was designed to by the founding fathers. And they made some mistakes because they were a bunch of racist old white dudes. But they did a couple things right. And those couple of things that they did right is what really makes me willing to say that I'm a patriot and a constitutionalist and somebody who believes in this country, because they recognized that the thing they were escaping in Europe was really bad. And what was really so bad about what could happen in the places they moved from Europe is that if you have one person in charge, you're just at their whim. Maybe they die and their son takes over, and then that person's crazy or whatever it might happen. It's just not a good system of rule for most people to have one person in charge. So they designed a system of government where it's really not possible for one person to have all that much control. Sometimes we need somebody to make a quick decision. Maybe there's a war, maybe there's a natural disaster, and we need to like send some federal help or something. That's why we have like one dude who's in charge of the executive branch to do executive authority. He's like the producer for on set of a movie. Like somebody needs to be able to bark orders, but it's not a movie set. It's people's lives. It's the country that people live in. We need to keep that person in check. So that's why we have the other two branches. One branch makes the laws. The other branch assesses what's true and investigates things. The judicial branch interprets the law, that sort of thing. So we have this system that makes sure that as we talk about things like abortion and gay rights or whatever the fuck is important in this particular chapter of American history, we do it in a way where nobody just gets to flip the table and say that they're in charge. So never mind all those issues. Trump is breaking the rules that the founding fathers wrote to protect us from tyranny. That's the most important thing. You and I can talk about whether you should be a Republican or a Democrat after he's out of power.
Well, I voted for Obama twice, and I really wanted to go to his protest. And let's think about it. I hate his ICE policy. I hate his abortion policy. I think he's a rapist.
Okay.
And
it sounds like you're on what I would consider my side of a lot of these social issues. So what's got you in the middle? What are you seeing from the left that makes you so averse to just say, okay, it sounds like sounds like you should probably vote for some Democrats or something like that.
I don't really know, but I'm not anti-LGBTQ because all of my grandsons are either transgender or bisexual. So I don't really know. So I really don't like how the right wing is like hating on everyone. So yeah. So I really liked Obama's administration when they try to use this counterclaim that he deported people, but he deported like criminals. And Trump's actually statistically deporting more non-criminals than
Well, his administration did deport a lot of people, but they didn't do it in ways that were violations of these rules that I'm talking about. And you're kind of sidestepping that because it does sound like you're a socially liberal person. It does sound to me like you probably just based on the policies should be voting for Democrats or sometimes a third or independent party that maybe has some similar values. But for the most part, it sounds like you shouldn't be voting for Republicans at all. Why have you called in? What's got I'm not really feeling the hang up. Like what's
I don't know. I think I just wanted to kind of justify my understanding of it. And I think in the next election, I really hope AOC is going to be the Democratic nominee because I'm going to vote for her, not Taylor Swift.
Why did you vote for Taylor Swift? A lot of people are commenting and messaging me telling that this isn't a serious call. I want to give you the benefit of the doubt. I also don't doubt your accent like a lot of people do. You said you're from Iowa, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, your accent makes sense to me. As somebody who lives somewhat nearby. Why'd you vote for Taylor Swift? Is that just why go, right? She isn't going to win. Why did you why do the legwork of going to the booth to write in somebody who's not going to get very many votes?
Because all my friends were
sorry everybody. I know it's not an Iowa accent. I'm just saying it's not an unusual accent to hear from somebody in that part of the country. But I don't know. They're doubting your accent. I'm not sold on that yet, and I'm pretty good at accents. I give the benefit of the doubt on my show. Sorry.
All my friends were Republicans, and all my family are like liberals. And I just kind of wanted to make a middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I couldn't really vote for myself. But now in the next election, I will vote for myself, and I will go out on those protests anti-Donald Trump.
Glad to hear that. But like I said, I'm not really hearing any reason why you should be in the middle. Sounds like you don't like the guy at all, don't like the right at all.
Yeah, I think I'm more on the left now.
Good. I am going to move on. I'm going to look for people who are less in the middle.
All right. Have a good day.
I think you guys are probably right. I just have to be sure before I'm mean to somebody who is, like, if I'm wrong, like a nice middle-aged lady. So, it's the thing. It's like a lot of people who don't offer benefit of the doubt to callers that could be trolls just like skip them the moment they detect like a hint of anything. And I just feel like a lot of good conversations get missed that way, especially when people go after something like accents. It wasn't an Iowa accent. It's an accent that I wouldn't be surprised to hear at a gas station in Iowa, because in the middle South, like the center of the country, Tornado Alley, the Rust Belt, like you hear a bunch of like less traditional sounding drawls as compared to like the deep South accent that you hear in places like Alabama, or the like coastal South accents that have been infected by New England youth in places like Georgia, because they have big cities like Atlanta where young people sound more like me than they do their parents who might sound more like her. So again, there's lots of different Southern accents. If she didn't sound like a Southern she didn't sound like any of the common Southern accents, but she did sound like one I know. So Anyway, I do benefit of the doubt on the show. You know, like people get so frustrated in the chat that I'm not hanging up on somebody who they think is a troll. And I just have to be sure, otherwise I look like a jerk. And like straightforwardly, if the chat is erupting that somebody's a troll for 3 minutes because I hold on for 3 minutes longer to kick them, it's good for engagement. People, I'm transparent about the couple of little things I do as showrunner to boost engagement, and sometimes I hear the chat screaming for something and I ignore it for 3 extra minutes because it's good for engagement, and then I relent and do it. So transparency, there's a reason the show's successful, and it's because I don't think it's dishonest, because here I am telling you that that's the tactic. People who watch the show long enough, people who watch me every day know I talk all the time about the odd little things I do to keep the viewership up. But anyway, enough meta discourse about how I run the show. We're going to talk to Bart Kelly, and we're going to see if we get a serious conversation 20 minutes into the show. It's getting hard these days. Hello, how old are you?
Oh, hello, I am 30.
Oh, yeah, thank you for telling me your age. I'm just going to thank a couple of donors really quick. I forgot to do that before I brought you up. I think I have 1 or 2 because, we've got quite a few because we've got Anika who said for $2, hello everyone, hope it's a great show today. Good morning. And then Pat in the chat sent $10 to say rest in piss, Mr. Graham. Anyways, heard you golf, Oscar. Have you played Chrominix? That's the course I crossed off Minnesota for my 50-state bucket list. Liked it, nice track, and fuck ice. I don't play golf. IowaGolfer called in and offered to play golf with me. I told him I would totally make a fool of myself to get to spend an afternoon playing golf with him. So I have played some golf. It's not my sport of choice for recreation. So no, I haven't done that. And then Pat in the chat is back for $5 to say, just an FYI to the people who don't vote because you don't do politics, please remember at some point politics will do you, sans lube, get involved. I agree 100%. I think when people say that they're not interested in politics, it's like saying that you're not interested in roofs, even though you live under one. It's like, well, how spoiled of you. Anyway, sorry, Bart. Bart Kelly, you're 30.
I like the analogy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that one I came up with off the top of my head just now. I like that one too. You're 30. Are you a Trump supporter?
I am not. I probably wasn't the best guest to request up. I just saw the, I came in and you were talking about someone voting third party. And I was like, voting write-in rather. Taylor Swift isn't any party, though she endorses a party. So I just, I requested up just on that, but I'm probably not the best guest for you. I do like your show though.
W's in the chat for Bart. I am just looking for some opposition right now. We do friendly time, not every day, but just kind of. I always say 11:30, but it's really just that depending on how the show goes, I might get looser about what calls I take towards the end. It's kind of. There's an art to directing these shows, and I make that decision as the show unfolds. So if we don't get callers, I might really try to get if I don't get a good debate, I might just really try all the way until the end of the stream to get a proper debate, just so there's something oppositional in each episode. But if I have a bunch of good debates, maybe we'll bring up some friendlies and kind of unpack what just happened on the show. But anyway, if you want to just kick it and talk to me about some stuff, there is space for that. You just have to watch regularly and maybe get in the queue to after 11:30ish. And if you watch the show enough, you'll get a sense of when it's good to hop in the queue. People, the regular viewers know when friendly times are brewing. But we're gonna talk to Weird Thoughts 8, one of those usernames that I've definitely seen many times before, that I cannot remember who the caller actually is. I'm so bad at matching a username to who the person actually is, or to the voice or to the ideology or whatever the call is about. Maybe they didn't mean to join because they're not connecting. Hello, how old are you?
44.
You a Trump supporter?
Yep.
All right. Where do you want to start?
So, do you not like ICE because media wasn't propagandizing their efforts over the last 4 years under Obama the same way?
I am the media that reported on their actions. I live in Minneapolis. You've probably seen violent footage of ICE agents that I filmed myself. Personally, it's a first-hand account that I have with ICE's actions here during Metro Surge.
You guys might want to focus more on that police law enforcement that's Democratic unions. It's just letting, child rape increase more and more and more. Actually, hold on. Just by your tone, I don't actually think you care about child rape. I think that you're just using that to misdirect my attention. So I am just going to ask that you turn your camera on before we proceed to make sure this isn't a troll of some kind. Yeah, I have my camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. It's just something I do when I detect a little bit of that kind of attitude that you had, which is fine. So thank you for turning your camera on. You can leave it on if you want. I'm just gonna put you back in the corner, and we can proceed. Yeah, I have real problems with law enforcement. I do. I don't know why you're Like that's a separate issue I'm also really upset about. That's something I've been protesting for longer than the ICE issue, because it has been a problem in a big way for the country for longer than the ICE thing. I've been protesting that since I was a kid in New York. I protested the actions of the New York City Police Department when I was a teenager. When I moved to Minneapolis, I participated in a lot of demonstrations. I participated in the demonstrations for George Floyd. I didn't damage anything. I didn't break any laws other than curfew during the riots, but I was present. So like, you can tell me that I don't give enough attention to that, but you don't know shit about me.
Oh, so you don't like law enforcement in Minneapolis or in New York? Well,
I think that the law in
but you vote for the ones that empower them, and you expect change.
Okay, yeah. So you're doing a little bit of like, okay. Okay, yeah, we're gonna ball Oscar's political perspectives on law enforcement up into those two sentences.
Act like you literally just said it, dude.
I'm sorry. Did I say that I vote for people who support that stuff, expecting change from them? Is that what I said? Because I don't expect change from those people.
Who'd you vote for?
I vote for those people, but not for that reason. You're putting words in my mouth. You're giving me my reason for my actions.
Do you vote Democrat or Republican?
Yeah, generally Democrat, yeah.
Okay, so you vote to empower it to keep going, because those police officers in both of those states that you referred to, they're Democratic.
I vote to have a chance at eliciting change in the country, so I don't vote for parties that would dismantle law enforcement or reform law enforcement in the ways that I want, because those people won't get elected and it's a wasted vote. So if I want law enforcement to change in this country, I should vote for the party that's more likely to make that happen in the future through things like allowing ranked choice voting or not imprisoning me for the things I say on my show, which the other party that I don't vote for wants to. So yeah, there are other reasons. I didn't think Kamala Harris was going to fix policing in America. That wasn't the reason I voted for her. I voted for her because she wasn't a rapist. I voted for her because she wasn't going to send armed men into my city.
Donald Trump wasn't either.
Yeah, he is, dude. Fuck off. This is ridiculous.
You're a fucking idiot. Like, look at the jury verdict for him. Was he charged with rape? You fucking illiterate zygote. How many years are we past this?
Calling me an illiterate zygote? Okay, if I put my fingers inside you without your
fucking specs to use Poindexter.
If I call me all the names you want, dude, I'm fucking impervious to it. I do this too much.
Well, you're a fucking propagandist Nazi who votes for the ones that step on the necks of fucking black Americans.
Answer my question.
And you're the solution?
No. You said that I'm an illiterate zygote. I'm guessing maybe. Okay, let's address that. If I put my fingers inside you without your permission, would you think it's fair to call that a rape?
It depends on how the state writes the legislation.
Okay, I don't think that we have to use a state legislated definition of rape.
In that rape form, they differentiated between both grape and SA, and now you're moving the goalposts again. You can redefine grape for your personal narrative as a white boy.
You can talk over me and give me a definition of rape that doesn't apply to what he... Is what he did really bad?
It is, but they didn't think it's bad enough to
then I don't care how you define rape. What he did is really bad. You don't care about. You care more about
people that let him be free and get elected. Good job, dumbass.
I've heard you host shows. I'm not going to let. I don't use the mute button on my show, and I will kick you if you don't make this conversation more functional.
I know you will, because that's all you little girls can do is kick.
Gish galloping, personal attacks, sea lining. This is ridiculous. No, dude, this is disingenuous. It's transparent. People who watch my show.
How many terms do you losers have to create?
I educate my audience on what those terms mean, so people know what you're doing. My audience is mostly aware of the sort of tactics you're using and what those terms mean. So when you're not
your hypocrisy, yeah.
You're not letting me. This is gish galloping. We're not letting me stay on one thing long enough to assess how I actually think or feel about any of this, and you know it. I don't think you're stupid. I think you're doing it intentionally. Chat, do you think this... Chat, I'm talking to the chat. Chat, yes or no in the chat.
Pussy, shut up. Run away.
Shut up. I don't use the mute button. You can run away if you want to hit the button. Chat, just let me know. Do you think, yes or no, that this caller is intentionally moving on too quickly past all of these claims and personal attacks for me to properly address any of them? Yes or no, do you think he is intentionally doing that? Is that your impression of his performance in this debate?
Let's give an excuse for the pedophile protectors, the fucking illegal rapist defenders,
he's continuing
and the
to do
institution police forces to kick me.
IDK, I'm actually going to mute you in the chat because you're performing voter fraud in my chat by voting multiple times. No, actually, you know what?
Look, a fascist that doesn't like freedom of speech.
I don't like voter fraud.
Oh, he can vote today?
Like, he just voted so many times. He said no.
Man, you guys are scared of words.
Kick or keep, chat. This is ridiculous. I'm actually not getting very many yeses, which is interesting. But yeah, kick or keep, chat. I'm not interested in this. If
you gotta beg the chat to defend yourself, that's a fucking pussy ass move, dude. No wonder why you guys running groups.
You're just a waste of my fucking. There we go. Look at the kicks rolling. Holy shit. Yeah, dude, this is a fucking waste of my time.
Do what, ladies and gentlemen? Run, Forrest.
Oh man, that guy doesn't know how a pussy works. We're gonna talk to Tracy after I remind everybody that if you support the show and if you support me calling out the bullshit of callers like that, you can go to the link tree in my bio And follow me on the other platforms. Follow the backup account. I have 2 backup accounts, so just make sure you're following this one. I kind of been switching around between the 2 different ones. Anyway, if you want to send money to me so that I can hire people to run the show, because I've hired 2 people to run the show, Jessie, Raven, you can send money to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. If you're international, Buy Me a Coffee works. You can just throw a card in there. That works. People were asking for international options, but Buy Me a Coffee works for that. Somebody on my Discord said that dude is a consistent, useless asshat. Yeah, I agree. It's one of those callers where he's just like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm actually winning the debate. And it's like, no, you're not. Anyway, link tree in the bio for all the things if you want to get in the Discord and stuff. And like, seriously, guys, thanks for the support. The fact this is my full-time job after doing this for such a short time is crazy. Darius sent me $5 on Venmo to say, so no slaves were raped because of the laws. No wives were raped because of the laws. Yeah, no, I mean, that guy wasn't fucking serious. He didn't give a shit about any of that stuff. And he wasn't going to engage with me. The only thing he could do is run by moving further along in the conversation, because he clearly could tell I was perfectly ready to address any of those things that he was saying to me. But as the chat is pointing out, he gave me the nuh-uh argument. Doesn't fucking work on me, motherfuckers. I'm better at this than that. We're going to talk to, whoever I was about to accept and has left, but we're going to talk to Schmitty_T3. We're going to see if they're going to engage in this conversation in an intellectually honest way after I read that Pat in the chat said, hey, caller, size also dishonestly, just saying. SIES, I don't know if that's pussies also argued dishonestly, just saying. There we go, that's what that was. Couldn't read it because he censored it. Schmitty, did you mean to join? Are you connecting? I'll take a moment. I'll give you a moment to join because Lucky Phil sent me $10 on Buy Me a Coffee to say, what an insufferable twat waffle. Here, buy a nice coffee. Yeah, $10 buys a pretty nice coffee. Thank you, Lucky Phil. Hello, how old are you?
My bad, Oscar. You were in my pocket.
Sorry no worries. Love you, Schmitty. We're going to talk to Chad Thundercock. Is this a corn star? Holy shit. What a name. Hello, how old are you?
Fuck you, faggot. You just cooked your ass.
Dude, like, you could have stayed up and made an argument for the fact that he cooked me if you didn't slur and run. I'm not offended by the F word. At all, personally. You could have stayed up and tried, but no, you know that. You're familiar with TikTok Live, so you had to slur and run so that you get to say that I kicked you instead of saying that you, like, also cooked me, you know, like Oscar ran because I said the F word. TikTok TOS, dude. Like, be a fucking man next time and say some words that'll let you stay up here so you can face the fucking heat, coward. We're gonna talk to White Catfish. If they'll connect. My goodness, the buttons aren't working today. Hello, how old are you?
26.
You're a Trump supporter?
Yes.
All right. Why is that?
Because I believe that when Trump says he's going to deport illegal immigrants, that was a good thing and it would help protect our communities.
From what?
Unvetted aliens in this country.
Are citizens vetted?
No.
Okay, so it sounds to me like there are hundreds of millions of unvetted people in this country. Why are you concerned with the ones that are illegal immigrants for public safety?
Well, it's a little bit different because if you're born here lawfully, you are a citizen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't have any. No, your concern is public safety, not citizenship. So again, why are you so concerned about public safety regarding illegal immigrants if we don't vet people who aren't?
Because they were never invited here.
What does that have to do with public safety?
Yeah, if we don't know who they are, coming from whatever country.
You know who I am?
No.
Okay, right, because I was unvetted, and most of the crimes in this country are committed by people who were born here or are here legally, even in consideration of the disparities in the population. Like, you can do that math and see that proportionally, it's people who are born here or are here legally who are more dangerous. So again, you said your concern was public safety, so why are you going after one of the least dangerous groups?
Because they were never invited here and they broke the law.
So you don't care about public safety. You care about this principled concern about whether or not they belong here, because that has nothing to do with public safety.
I guess then, yeah.
Okay. So just to be clear, your argument that you're arguing to get rid of the illegal immigrants because of public safety is no longer your argument. You will never call into another live and say that you're going to want to get rid of the illegal immigrants for public safety because you now recognize that that's silly. Is that how the rest of your life is going to go, or are you going to forget that this conversation ever happened, move on to somebody else and make the same bullshit claim?
Yeah, okay. Do you think women can have penises?
Camera on.
Why?
Because I don't think you're serious, and asking people to turn on the camera weeds out a lot of the people who aren't serious. So
I was just wondering if you think women can have penises.
We'll talk about that after you turn your camera on.
Is that a Somali flag?
Camera.
Do women have penises? Yes or no?
Camera, dude. We can talk about it after you turn your camera on.
All right, 1 sec.
Okay, don't be silly, dude. Come on.
I turned it on.
No, you're gone. Goodbye, white catfish. Something tells me you're a catfish. You know, when you're talking to a catfish and they won't show your face on camera, I think, maybe you got a catfish. We're gonna talk to psycrowbob, who's a pretty reliable hater in the chat. We're gonna see what he's upset with me about today. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 46.
All right, I know you're opposition, but just to be clear, you're a Trump supporter, right?
I am indeed.
Why is that?
Well, rather than voting for personality, I vote for infrastructure velocity, specifically within the AI sector. So
hold on. Okay, so hold on. So infrastructure velocity, I was very quickly going to be like, whoa, sounds like you're a Biden supporter, but you're talking about AI, which I think it's a little bit disingenuous to refer to as infrastructure. Do you think that AI has become so important to American society that it's important to consider it an infrastructure, something like a utility, like power lines or internet lines? Do you think data centers are so important to everyday life for average Americans that the government should look at it that way?
Yeah, so the previous administration bogged down tech expansion with compliance committees and multi-year environmental reviews.
I think those things are very important to do.
Whereas the Trump administration treats AI supremacy as national security emergency.
Yeah, that's actually, it's really bad to use AI for any sort of national security argument, because while AI is really, really good at a lot of things, it's actually really bad at tasks that involve operational security, like preserving national security, because AI models work in such a way that the people who design them don't actually know what's going on. It's kind of that black box thing that some people describe. I could, if you want, describe to you in detail exactly how that works and why it is that way. But if an AI model does something that, say, the owner and designer of it doesn't like, they can't like go in there and change one little thing about it. They have to try again and make a new black box. So when it comes to operational tasks, making sure that procedures are followed, making sure that classified information is never output at the wrong time, that sort of thing, AI models are very, very, very bad at that. So I'm very curious to know why you think AI is important to national security.
Well, I don't know why any of those things matters that you just said. I mean, if you take our ingest of multiple petabytes of data per day in terms of foreign intelligence communications, humans that don't have the capacity to translate, to transcript all of that information, whereas AI model can do that. So immediately, right off the bat, you're absolutely wrong about any of that.
I'm sorry. You brought up a good point that I'm willing to address, but what I said is right, so I'd like to not move on. Why do you think what I said is wrong?
What you said was that it has no national security benefit.
That's not what I said. I said AI is good at lots of things, which means that there is benefit to national security, but the technology is itself presents a huge risk to national security because of something fundamental about the way that it works, which means that like we don't know exactly what the costs are because we can't even predict the ways in which AI models fail, and that presents great risk to national security that I think we have to weigh against the benefit of using AI technology for things like facial recognition or surveillance or mass transcription and translation, like the things you were talking about. Like, I recognize that there are cons in pros in the pros column. I was talking about some of the cons in the con column, and you're telling me that that's wrong, and I'm not understanding that.
Okay, I guess I misunderstood. So you were just saying that there is some fault potential in the technology or within the models themselves, which is fine, but it's completely that point would be completely dwarfed by the ability to both ingest and process petabytes of foreign intelligence data daily, right?
I mean, I'm not saying that the government shouldn't use AI technology for anything. I recognize that if you have petabytes of data to go through, I think people know what a megabyte and a gigabyte are. It's terabyte after that, and then petabyte after that. So a petabyte is like 1,000,000 gigabytes. It's a big amount of data. So yeah, AI is good at sifting through those sorts of things, but it doesn't do a perfect job. And when it comes to things like maybe making decisions that involve life and death, which is what people tend to do in our government with that sort of information, it still needs to be checked by a human, or else we do things like accidentally bomb a fucking school in Iran. So I have to wonder if AI had anything to do with that, but the world probably will never know. But those are the sorts of concerns that I have as a person who is technologically educated about how AI works long before the large language model showed up. I used to buy used NVIDIA like data center graphics cards and install them in my own computer to work on my own little pet projects in AI. I know intimately how they work in terms of how they're designed. And now that they've scaled up so big, some of these fundamental problems haven't been solved, and they're just really big concerns for me in terms of leveraging so much much of our economy and so much of our resources in terms of, so much risk to our environment, so much disruption to people who live in the communities that have to support these data centers. Like, I see all of those cons, and you're sitting here with some sort of technocratic outlook that thinks that just because this technology is powerful, it's necessarily going to be so amazingly good for processing all these petabytes of information. If the government was so good at processing all this information with AI, they would have done a better job redacting the Epstein files, because that's a lot of data that it took humans too long to get through, and they redacted it in such a way that revealed that their redaction practices were illegal. That's just an example of the fact that even with this technology available to them, there are human tasks that aren't solved by it that the government's going to keep fucking up. And if that happens with issues of national security instead of just issues of trying to protect the global pedophilic elite, that's going to be a problem for America, and I don't think you recognize the risk there.
Yes, but you understand that there's a bigger risk if we don't have the power to go through this data in the first place. I mean, you mentioned that we would need humans to check it, but well, that's all fine. But if the AI can process all of the data that we're ingesting and then provide the most pertinent points a la carte to each human analyst, and then the analyst can check the sources on that, that would massively increase our ability to engage in intelligence around the world.
You made a big leap in there, which is that you said it's very obvious that the benefit is greater than the cost, and I'm just not really understanding that, especially in consideration of the fact that I'm not against the existence of AI technology. I am against the overuse of it. I am against the irresponsible construction of data centers. I am against the irresponsible allocation of important resources on Earth to make bullshit AI slop images that are mostly just used for like farming money through social media or spreading disinformation by doing like political cartoons and stuff like that, misleading people with AI generated images. Like, I think that those cons are really, really great, and the list of pros here is actually really, really small against the degree to which our entire economy is currently leveraged by AI, because the only reason that the fucking stock market indices are performing as well as they are, if you do the math on where the AI bubble is, these companies that have overinflated value against their revenue because people like yourself speculatively see value in this technology without considering the potential costs both to the society and to the stockholders of those particular companies. If you trim that off the top of all the indices, you'll see that we have a much weaker economy hiding behind this bubble. So again, like, I just can't actually see an angle where the pros don't obviously get outweighed by the cons, especially in consideration of risk management.
I understand, based on what you're telling me, I understand why you wouldn't see that. It's because you're not envisioning kind of the larger implications of this technology.
Why are you, though?
You went on a talk for you. Every time you talk for 2 minutes straight, I get like 5 seconds to rebut. But so, for one of these implications, if we're sticking on national defense here, would be that both the China and the U.S. are so aggressively building out these data centers, specifically in pursuit of the quantum computing capabilities. So it's like we're currently installing the physical chassis in the form of these data centers for quantum computing era.
I consider this a pivot. Quantum computing and AI are not actually all that related. Quantum computing is a paradigm shift in terms of how technology works, because technology, like computation from the days of Alan Turing, and even before that when we were doing mechanical computing all the way back in the 1800s, still had to do with a binary or quaternary set of particular values that can be used for direct arithmetic operations. And quantum computing works in a completely different way. Do you understand quantum computing?
Yeah, so we've been running into a lot of bottlenecks with quantum computing, especially, particularly the random fluctuations within the states of qubits. And the AI models are able to both simulate, monitor, and predict these fluctuations, while they're happening, before they're happening, in order to stabilize the quantum computer in general.
But you're pivoting on
AI specifically is unlocking this technology.
You're pivoting onto quantum computing and saying that AI is going to solve the problem with it, when you haven't even demonstrated me to the benefit to it or answered any of my concerns about the ever-mounting list of cons with leveraging our entire national security and economy on an unproven technology that it's known to be really harmful in a lot of ways.
That's why I was sticking with the security aspect of this, because whoever gets to quantum computing first will have the computing capabilities to break every modern standard encryption that we use today.
Who told you that?
What?
Who told you that?
It's not a matter of told. That's what the technology is able to do. The sheer computing capabilities are able to break these.
If you think it's self-evident that using qubits instead of bits for computing, quantum computing instead of normal like binary computing, if that's obviously going to break all of the hashes and encryption systems that we use for security, just explain to me how the fuck that works. Because I understand all these words, I understand these technologies, and it doesn't happen to be obvious to me that quantum computing is going to make us able to break through a password very easily.
Well, so you understand that the reason that we cannot break the encryption today with our current compute methods is that
it takes too much compute time to achieve.
Because it takes too much compute time. Yes. So you understand that quantum computing is an exponential growth function in the amount of compute per second that we can do, right?
Yeah, that's been the case with Moore's law in traditional computing, and we found that there's a ceiling on Moore's law because as we make the transistors smaller, the billions and now trillions of transistors that we have in large computational cards from NVIDIA or processors from Intel or Apple's chips, and this has a pretty powerful processor in it. The issue we run into is that you can only make transistors so small because you start running into the resolution of the atoms that they're made of. So Moore's law bumped into the ceiling where it was doubling in that way until we ran into a limitation. And you're sitting here acting like if we unlock the ability to use qubits to do computing, that exponential curve is going to continue for long enough that we're suddenly going to have the compute power to get through hashes? Once again, who told you that?
Yes. Again, it's just a matter of what the technology is. How many?
You're just asserting that the technology will do that, and I think that you run around to these lives not expecting to run into hosts who know what quantum computing is or how it works.
Well, if you understand how it works, then I don't understand what your argument is here. You're saying I think I understand how it works. I think you're just positing that it won't be able to do that. Why are you claiming it won't?
I'm not asserting that it definitely won't. I'm asserting that it's nonsense to say that it definitely will, which is your claim. And if you're claiming to understand that that's obvious, please educate me and my audience on why that is.
Yes, because it's an exponential growth function in compute per second.
Yeah, and in the 60s and 70s, you could have said that about the exponential compute function in traditional transistors, but we've seen an end to Moore's law, which is the principle that describes that exponential growth pattern for the reasons that I described. You are asserting that no such ceiling will be found in quantum computing, such that the exponential curve will continue forever without running into some sort of upper ceiling limitation, such that we are then able to leverage that immense amount of quantum computing to solve like passwords and hashes and things like that. That's a leap that I'm not understanding
your argument here. So what you're saying is that Moore's law has kept it with modern cryptography. So as cryptography has gotten more advanced, we've developed faster chips to keep up with it in order to be able to process higher end encryption standards, which I agree with. So
and to give you a point in your favor, I do recognize the arms race that we as the United States are in with the rest of the world and sort of keeping on the cutting edge of AI technology. But I don't think that building data centers in people's communities who don't want them in order to mostly generate AI slop bullshit and plagiarized music for people to listen to and political misinformation and propaganda, like AI is being used like in terms of teraflop hours, if we want to measure the compute and then relate that to maybe like energy expenditure or like water footprint on the communities that these data centers are in, like the percentage of it that gets used on this good stuff that you're talking about is very small, which is why I'm so concerned about how much we're leveraging our economy against this. I went through all this earlier and you kind of sidestepped it by bringing up quantum computing, but now you're doing the thing where like, host knows what quantum computing is. I'm gonna go back to traditional. We're gonna play fucking pivot whack-a-mole.
What I said was that I agree with you, and then as our computing capabilities exponentially increase through the development of quantum computing, then we will be able to advance our encryption standard because of it, and we will be able to process traffic that's being run across our internet with these modern, more quantum computers. So yes,
but there's nothing special about this step in the arms race. This is precisely and exactly what people have been saying about encryption since it was invented. Like there's nothing new here. You're just saying that it's good that we're fucking up people's communities, even though I'm pointing out that a very small percent of the benefit that comes from that is afforded to the sorts of good things that you're talking about. It mostly goes to things that I personally hate and think are evil. And you're just ignoring that.
No, I'm not. I mean, we're getting where. So quantum processors.
We're going nowhere, dude.
Hold on. Quantum processors themselves require massive electromagnetic shielding and cryogenic cooling grids. So that's what these data centers are built for.
Yes. Just for the audience, because in order to achieve quantum computing, you usually need superconducting materials, which need to be kept at like wildly low temperatures, like below liquid nitrogen temperatures, like -200 Celsius, like down near absolute zero. And the machines necessary to create those conditions in a small space for some quantum computing happening is fucking insanely energy intensive. So much more energy intensive than the cooling that we need for conventional computing. So you're looking at an immense precipice in terms of the amount of infrastructure and energy that's needed. So all of my concerns about data centers need to be amplified 100, 1,000, 1,000,000-fold, something obscene like that, in order to get the sort of teraflop hours that you're talking about quantum computing. Because right now, the actual amount of computing, even an enormous energy intensive facility are capable of accomplishing, the amount of quantum computing teraflop hours, or however it's measured for quantum computing, is minuscule. So you're saying that we should like burden the energy infrastructure, fuck up a bunch of communities, fuck up the environment, make sure that most of the benefit goes towards producing fucking AI slop, just so that 20 or 30 years from now we'll be good at quantum computing when it becomes viable for some sort of...
Before
this is speculative nonsense.
Before you try to tell me what I'm saying, you haven't let me get out more than 2 sentences at any given time, this whole thing. Like, just let me finish the sentence, and you'll see that you just went on a 2-minute tirade over something I'm not even saying.
Look at all that airtime you could have used responding to what I said.
Okay, so what I'll say is, by fast-tracking these footprints today, we ensure the U.S. plugs in the fault-tolerance quantum computers of tomorrow before China achieves quantum supremacy. So your concerns are being addressed here. And if you're talking about the energy intensity, well, we could talk about how the implications of AI and how it's solving bottlenecks in fusion reactor technology, and how these corporations are currently investing in a small form factor modular nuclear fission reactors. I'm gonna believe the chat that you're reading like an AI prompt or something. So the way this conversation is gonna proceed, because you don't even have camera privileges. How do you not have camera privileges? You're in my chat all the time. What the fuck, dude? You troll? No, I'm not a troll.
I don't know. I mean, are you reading?
I'm just trying to tell you what's going on.
Yes or no? Are you reading, or are you using your brain?
I'm using my brain.
Are you using your brain to read, or are you using your brain to come up with the things you're saying to me?
I'm using my brain to come up with the things I'm telling you.
I don't believe you, man. I think you're reading some fucking AI blurb nonsense.
Well, you not believing what I'm saying has nothing to do with the argumentation that I'm providing.
The argumentation is so bad that is further evidence that you're reading from AI, which is also funny because it demonstrates that AI is not as useful in the way that you think it is, and everybody can see it, dude. Like it's so obvious to the audience from the flow of conversation that I'm just sitting here having a conversation with you, and that you're like grasping at straws with some sort of research because your nose is too close to the ground. You can't tell that it can tell the difference between when you're reading and when you're not. You've snapped back and forth so many times. I'm sitting here aware of it. I just let the chat erupt about it because it's good for engagement. But I'm going to call it out. And what I was going to do is tell you to turn your camera on and continue the conversation with your eyes closed, which is something I have done before when I've been accused of AI. I've put a fucking blindfold on so I can sit here with my hands up and say, like, no, this is just actually who I am. I'm just actually knowledgeable about this stuff. But again, it's like a further red flag for me that you're a name I'm familiar with because you're in my chat all the time. Why don't you have fucking camera privileges, dude?
I guess I haven't been on the app long enough. I don't know. I don't have enough friends yet. Whatever the case is, whatever TikTok rules are, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I just.
But why are you doing this instead of contending with the bottlenecks that AI has been unlocking in fusion reactor technology? Like why would you pivot to this?
Dude, AI is doing a bunch. I could list 20 amazing things that AI is doing, and they would represent a small slice of the compute power on Earth that's being used for AI, which is why, as an industry, the whole fucking thing is evil. And the sort of regulations around this technology that I promote are things that would allow us to leverage that technology for the better. And you seem uninterested in that for some reason, which is concerning to me. It makes me think that you're not actually concerned about becoming educated about this stuff, because it's clear that you're not educated about this stuff. It's clear that you're reading a blurb. You're reading information to me that you don't quite understand, and you think that my responses to it are a non sequitur because I understand what you're saying and you don't, which means I'm following the conversation and you're not, and it's just obvious to everybody watching.
No, what you're saying is that you're positing that, oh, well, the benefits of AI do not outweigh the negatives. That's what you're saying. And then in support of that, you're not bringing up any of the benefits you're relying on me to mention the benefits, which you barely let me do, and then you pivot to.
Well, see, what we were just talking about is like you're doing this other like whack-a-mole pivot thing where it's like I just like made a really direct accusation about the way that you're navigating this conversation, and instead of like responding to it, you just went back to some of the talking points from earlier in the conversation. Yes, I think even the 5-year-olds listening know that I think that the pros are outweighed by the cons, and you don't. But if that's the most comprehensive description of this conversation that you can give, that's evidence of the fact that you're not comprehending the conversation that you yourself are participating in.
You haven't displayed, in order to make that assessment of whether or not the pros outweigh the cons, you would have to have intimate knowledge of the pros and the cons, right? So I'm well aware of the con.
Yes or no? Have I displayed intimate knowledge of some of these pros and cons in a way that maybe is a little more comprehensive than the guest? Yes or no? Just let me know if you think.
Why are you relying on your chat? What does that have to do with you? You haven't. Every time I mention something
let them participate in the conversation. It's good for engagement. It makes you look bad. There's a bunch of reasons I do that sort of thing.
Okay. Every time I mention a new pro, it's like you're like, oh my gosh. Well,
yeah, because you're not. Yes, because it's a pivot to bring up something else instead of addressing my problems with what you've already said.
No, it's not a pivot if I'm bringing up pros in an argument about pros versus cons, right?
Sorry, say that again.
If we're talking about making an assessment, a pro versus con assessment, then me bringing up pros would not be a pivot away from the conversation. That would be just adding evidence to the pro side.
Yeah.
Because my entire position is that the pros outweigh the cons, whereas your position is that the cons outweigh the pros.
But you're trying to win by having more pros instead of weighing the weight of the pros, and we can't weigh the weight of each pro that gets brought up unless we move on to the next.
Better pros, better qualifying pros,
and I don't think
pros that will have impacts on future generations 100 years from now. Big pros
but you're baselessly each of the pros that you bring up, you are baselessly asserting are that big. And I will point out that AI technology is super good at designing reactor technology. Point for you on that one. It's one of the sorts of things that's great.
Okay.
Here, wait. Here, we'll do some. Protein folding is something that we haven't really been able to excel at until we have AI models that do it. So we're doing really amazing things in medicine with that. We have aerodynamic structures like the like flight control surfaces of planes where humans just aren't able with our brains to come up with ways that work. So we use AI models to design that, and we're designing some really incredible like aeronautic technology where, funny enough, the AI shits out models that like look like the anatomical structures we find in flighted animals in the animal kingdom. Very interesting. I could go on. There's a bunch of amazing stuff that AI is doing. I use AI to do the subtitles on my shorts because I don't consider it plagiarism. It's just manual work I would have to do. But AI is really good at listening and getting like 95% of the words right, so I just have to go in and do the corrections. That has been a huge labor drain that would be otherwise a huge labor drain for me. It's able to make me more successful at running my show. I could sit here and list the benefits of AI and then go back to the fact that almost all of the compute power that we are sacrificing our communities and our environment and our energy infrastructure for, almost all of it is being used for bullshit that I hate, that isn't good for national security, that isn't good for the development of technologies that I want to be developed in the 21st century. But so again, I recognize that there are pros. I am educated about them. You don't seem to be.
Okay, how is AI being implemented in agriculture right now?
I don't know off the top of my head. That's when I don't.
You said you know the pros.
I didn't say I know all of them. Congratulations, you pivoted to one that I don't happen to be an expert on. Do you think that makes you fucking win?
Well, the idea would be that you would have to know all pros if you're going to make that assessment. So if you don't know some massive pros there could be in the agricultural sector, then why would you make this assessment?
Here, let's use my general knowledge about how technology has its influence on agriculture. I was actually just talking about this on the show the other day about how we have companies that have control over technology that's used in agriculture, like John Deere. And John Deere is universally hated among people who work in the agriculture industry because they realize that the value of their technology gives them a stranglehold over an already suffering group in this country, which is farmers. So they are allowed to charge them out the ass, not give them full ownership of the hardware that they use to till their own fields, because their they're the owner and they have to bring it to a licensed dealer. It's like a Tesla car where like you can't go to like a regular mechanic. You have to pay the fucking ransom for the company to do it in a way that's approved. So what we find is that we have technology that's that beneficial to something like agriculture, and we let technocrats like Elon Musk be in charge of it. What we end up with is rich people using that as a fucking stranglehold on the poor, and I see no reason why that won't happen with fucking agriculture. I'm so concerned about what will happen with agriculture in the 21st century because I don't think that the companies that develop the technology that will make agriculture happen without the need for human capital are going to do it in a way that's benevolent for society unless people like me are in charge, and I don't think that you recognize that concern. So that's my general assessment of you bringing up AI as it relates to agriculture, even though I don't off the top of my head happen to know how AI is beneficial to agriculture. Perhaps the AI is better at determining how much you water the crops.
There are some people in chat who mentioned a couple ways here with precision farming, laser weed burners. A lot of people are concerned with the weed killers that we're using, and we got companies right now deploying laser weed burners that run off of AI. So that will essentially, make these chemical weed killers not necessary. And in addition to that, the AIs can do.
Wait, hold on. Silly John says that the guest sounds like Hank Hill. I'm going to see if I can out Hank Hill him. If we let robots take over the fields, they're not going to make decisions that are good for poor people. Do you understand that?
Well, if your contention is that we, in fear of corporate capture, we should not deploy these technologies.
Why do we need data centers to grow crops?
Well, we need the data centers to be able to run parallel simulations and be able to run these various.
The value of the parallel simulations will be decided by the billionaire. Damn it, Bobby.
So then what you're saying is that we should not advance technology in fear of corporate capture. I mean, you sound kind of like the people back in the early 1900s who were so concerned that the horse and buggy industry would be impacted by automobiles. I mean, it sounds like you're not particularly forward thinking here.
Well, when the automobile began to take over American life, the government worked hard to make sure people had the roads and resources they needed to be prosperous. I don't think that's going to happen with AI.
Why would it happen with automobiles and not with AI?
Because we were having this thing happen that like when it happened with automobiles in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, we had like these high corporate tax rates of like 90% so that we could afford things like the infrastructure that's needed to make benefit of everybody having a car. That's how we built the interstates and stuff. And in the 50 to 60 years since that time, we've seen like a real increase in the power of the wealthy and the corporation through things like Citizens United and lobbying by rich people to make sure that they control the politics in such a way such that they can lower those tax rates. So now we have ourselves in a situation where there doesn't exist the budget in the government to do these sorts of widespread societal changes that make use of these technologies for everyday people, like we did with the automobile. We don't have that infrastructure set up in our government finance because we've lowered the effective maximum tax rate to 37% from 90%. That gap is the difference.
Well, the low corporate tax rate is specifically why I support Trump in accelerating this in the first place. It gives the corporations, the liquid asset, the top 7 hyperscalers, the ability to have that liquid asset, that liquid money to fund into this. So that's something I like about Trump specifically.
But you're talking about that happening through private control, which just isn't what fucking happens when you give private entities all the control of people's well-being. Like that's not.
Well, it's not purely private control. It's a partnership between the U.S. government and private entities, which we have always engaged in. I mean, I think what is it? Amazon is hosting our a lot of our defense networks. I mean, we engage in these private and public partnerships all the time. And I don't think that Trump ignores that.
You're just at this point just like vomiting. Like again, I think you're just reading me AI slop. I don't think you're actually like engaging with my concerns about
I haven't read anything. I'm just telling you what it is.
Son, I don't think you're listening.
Well,
I forgot I do a pretty good Hank Hill. It's very breathy.
Well, hey, yeah, and also Trump brought he enacted the White House ratepayer protection pledge, right?
Wow. What an interesting pivot away from everything I said.
Well, it's addressing your concerns about corporate capture, right? and its effects on the community. So in this
it really isn't. Trump is like lining the pockets of billionaires in a way that I'm really concerned about. So if you can find like some particular headline that makes you feel like he's not doing that, you need to weigh it in dollar figures, because they tend to do that sort of thing. They sprinkle some delicious, colorful sprinkles on the dog turd, and people are like, you go look at these tasty sprinkles, and I say, get that fucking dog turd away from me. I don't care that there's sprinkles on it. It's a little bit like putting no tax on tips in the big beautiful bill. Like, you can find a particular policy where it's like, yeah, we signed this piece of paper that's going to make everything better, yay, and then I can look at it and be like, this doesn't address any of the actual issues, because I understand them comprehensively, and I just don't think that you do, because I don't think that your conclusions on this is based on a comprehensive understanding of this subject matter. I think that you have your conclusions about this subject matter, and you have been digging for information about this complicated subject matter that makes you sound right, and that's what you're sitting here doing, is regurgitating it to somebody who understands it better than you, which is why you're floundering to the degree that you are in this conversation. Bobby,
I haven't been floundering at all. You're the one who said,
yes or no, has he been floundering?
You're the one who admitted that you haven't weighed all the pros against your cons. I mean, you sound very well versed in the cons.
I admitted that I didn't know much about AI's influence on agriculture in particular. Does me admitting that I don't know everything make me look bad in a debate? Like, come on, man.
Well, if you don't know the implications on...
Are you gonna try to tell me that you've demonstrated more comprehensive knowledge of this stuff than I have in this call?
Well, if you say that you didn't, like, just like you said, that you have a vast understanding of the cons of this technology and its impacts on local communities, but then when asked its impact on a major sector of our economy and our livelihood, you had no idea about it. Well, then that leads me to believe that, well, maybe you haven't really thought out all the other potential sectors.
My fact checkers on Discord are saying that what you're saying about Amazon hosting servers for national security defense is just not true. I believe them. I need a source, and because they've called you out on that, I need a source.
A source for Amazon hosting defense networks?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I suppose I can find something. Yeah, let me see.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I mean, are you gonna go teacup and look for it? Like, I kind of feel like if you're unprepared in that way, you should come back another day. We should keep trying. I'd like to give you like more time, because like it's not really fun for you to do it on the air. Like, if you're unprepared for the conversation, that's fine. But like, come back later. Do you want to come back later? Like another day or something?
Well, you're trying to run just because I can do a simple, search engine search.
I'm trying to move on because I'm good at running the show, and I think that we've demonstrated enough of what our perspectives on this are. And if you want to go down some rabbit hole about looking at some resources, it would be better packaged for people to be interested and engaged with our conversation if we did it another time, which people know I'm perfectly willing to do. So I'm just saying that for like one thing that people call me a runner for is trying to get my audience to better understand you. And if you're not prepared with your sources, we're going to lose viewership while you dig them up and we spend time trying to look at them. If you want to come back better prepared, you are welcome to. That's better for you. I want it to be better for you. I look the best in our debates when I make the guest look as good as I possibly can, because it shows my good faith. And I think that, your arguments are bad enough that shining a light on them is... Go ahead.
By the time you said this, I mean, it's just from Amazon here. It says, instead of routing military data through the standard public internet, Amazon builds physically isolated, highly regulated data centers specifically to host defense data up to top secret classification levels. So, I mean, that's just from Amazon. It's not hard to find this information.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, why are so many people telling me that Amazon doesn't host Department of Defense then?
Because most people in the country are just not informed of this stuff. I don't know.
Right, just be straightforward with me. Did you read that out of an AI blurb that says that the source is Amazon, or did you read that from a source at Amazon?
It's from aboutamazon.com.
Right. Are you on Amazon.com, or are you on ChatGPT?
It's right here. Yeah, it's aboutamazon.com. The article is AWS secret cloud for industry gives defense contractors a faster, more secure path to classified innovation. I mean, it's the information is out there. Like, I don't know why this would be a contentious point. We obviously engage in...
Sorry, read that title more slowly.
Oh, yeah, it would be AWS secret cloud for industry gives defense contractors a faster, more secure path to classified innovation.
Why have I searched this before? Oh, my God. Okay, wait. For industry... Sorry, read it one more time. I'm not getting it right away. AWS secret cloud for industry what?
It gives defense contractors a faster, more secure path to classified innovation. Yeah, someone in your chat is saying, someone in your chat is saying, "Don't die on this hill." AWS hosts a lot of DoD stuff. I mean, yeah, it's just obviously true.
Well, I'm just being honest. I told you that somebody in the Discord called bullshit. I told you somebody in the chat called bullshit. I'm looking at it right now. I just found it. Like it's recent. It's from last month. So maybe people in the chat were wrong. Like again, like people are saying, "Don't die on a hill." I don't. There's not many hills I want to die on.
Well, why would you harangue me for potentially using AI summaries in my argumentation when you're deploying like 1,000 people and what they're saying in your argumentation? That doesn't make sense.
It's fair. I mean, I can trip over like thinking a source is bullshit when it's not every now and again. But like again, like here. The key takeaways, right? Like if this is written by Amazon staff and we have a key takeaway that up to $20 million accelerator will help defense companies get started. This sounds like a sprinkle on a dog turd because we're talking about $1 trillion industry and you're talking about $20 million of investment. It sounds like a sprinkle on a dog turd. As I said, I thought it probably was before I looked at this. Why are you muted?
What?
Yeah, like again, we can find good things. So like here, I'll take the L. Like it sounds like my chat in the Discord was on the face of it wrong. Looks like AI is hosting, or Amazon Web Services is hosting some of this stuff. But again, I don't think it amounts to a big enough slice of what AI is being used for AI to be good. That was my whole argument the entire time. This source doesn't prove otherwise, unless you can show me something that's measured in billions or trillions of dollars. $20 million is fucking nothing in this industry, and you know it.
Well, I don't exactly remember why we got on. I was just saying
because you're trying to list these pros. You're trying to
partner with private entities all the time in defense. So this was just an example of how the U.S. government partners with a private entity.
Right.
So with AI, it's the same thing. It's still a partnership between the government and a private entity. I mean, because your whole position was that you're scared about corporate capture of these things, but
that's not my whole position. My position's far more comprehensive than that. And like I gave this sprinkles on the dog turd example of how you can find little particular programs that like back up your argument. But my argument the whole time has been that it's not that those aren't happening. It's that there's such a minuscule percentage of what the AI industry is up to, that the AI industry is a much bigger existential threat for all of us than any of that makes it not worth any of these individual benefits. I also don't like Amazon, and I'm not particularly excited that they're a company that's working with our very corrupt government on national security matters. Like that in particular, like AI can be good for that sort of thing, like I've been saying the entire time. But again, I'm just not seeing that you're looking at this in any proportioned way. You're bringing me an example of, a company I hate hosting some data for the government and being like, see, AI is doing good. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, you just haven't addressed any of the bad. You haven't addressed any of the things I've like really said are concerns. And you bring me an example that, like I said, Amazon Web Service also announced up to $20 million accelerator initiative to help qualified defense companies get started. That's that. Like, how much investment have they done locally? Like, I could install a computer in my house and download a government file onto it and say that I'm hosting DoD materials. I'm not accusing Amazon of doing something that like obviously dishonest and corrupt. I'm just saying that this article doesn't show that this issue of proportionality that I'm concerned about is wrong.
Yeah. Well, yes. If this one article were the singular source of the only instance of cloud providers hosting military defense or government networks, then yes, that would be the case. But I mean, it's obvious that that's not the case. That there's way more sources, way more networks, way more money.
Yeah, But what I'm saying is that until you can demonstrate to me that a big chunk of the AI industry is operating in this way, I'm not interested. And what they're doing is working by creating a bunch of smaller resources like this that represent a minuscule amount of the industry.
Well, that's why I try to point you to the White House ratepayer protection pledge. That's why I pointed that to show the part how the partnership is working and how the government is actively.
Here's what's happening. Yeah. I'm going to give you an analogy. If my company is dumping like hundreds of thousands of tons of garbage and waste into a river every day, and then I sent you a picture of a guy on a dinghy with a shovel picking some of it up out of the water and putting it into a bucket and said, look, we're cleaning it up, we're doing good, would that be a good argument against the concern that most of what my company is doing is bad?
No, that would not be a good argument.
Right, and that's what you're giving me. You're showing me this Amazon article, which is in my analogy is the guy like shoveling a little bit of waste out of the river and ignoring the fact that the river's being polluted by a factor that's enormous compared to that. And that's what I'm saying about the AI industry at large, about AI's influence on what's going on in the government right now. But with the amount that our economy is dependent on the AI bubble, with the amount that I worry about our government systems becoming dependent on AI because they're not reliable in the way that we need systems in the government to be. MS-DOS was so reliable, we used it too fucking long, but it was kind of at the end of the day for a good reason because it's reliable, it's predictable, always works the same way. But AI is not like that.
It sounds like with your pollution example is a good example. It sounds like you're treating these things as a political issue or a government issue rather than an engineering issue. So
I'm sorry, you've called into a political debate live to defend AI technology, and you're saying that I'm politicizing the issue?
No, because your posit was the picture of the guy, cleaning the things, right? But if you were to look at it through the lens of an engineer, how might you solve these kinds of issues? Would be my question. Like we have pollution, we have garbage in the oceans, we got a lot of issues. How from an engineering perspective do you think you tackle these things? I mean, we already mentioned the laser weed killer robots, right? That would be an engineering solution.
You're burden shifting here, because are you saying that I'm wrong unless I can present to you a comprehensive plan for fixing all of this shit? That's ridiculous.
No, I'm just asking.
Then why are you asking me to do that?
No, I'm not. I'm not asking you for a policy position, like bringing it back to the laser weed killer robots.
Yeah, we're losing the viewership, dude. Like we're getting into like keeper kick chat. Well, sorry, I'm just asking if people want this to continue. You're not I'm not going to ban you from the show. I'm just saying that we're getting down the fucking rabbit hole. Like it's just not. Sorry, what were you just saying?
I'm just asking if you have the capacity to look at this through the lens of an engineer rather than the lens of a politician. And if you did,
my formal academic background is in engineering, which is why I look at this like an engineer instead of a politician, which is why I'm navigating the conversation in the way that I am.
So how would you deploy the AI compute, the processing power? How would you implement deploy AI to fix these issues to the damage to our environment?
Okay, hold on. I am going to kick you, but I will answer your question after I kick you because the chat wants you gone, which is that like me pointing out these big problems and then you asking what's your solution to the problem. I don't have to know the best path forward with AI technology to say that it's bad to give so much power to private companies. I don't have to know the perfect thing to do to say it's bad to just blindly shit a bunch of data sensors into people's backyards, to fuck up the environment, to skip these environmental reviews. That's where the conversation started. He said that there were needless environmental reviews. Oh no, God forbid we check what the effect on the water quality of this population this area that 50,000 people live in. 50,000 people depend on this water supply. God forbid we make sure the data center's not going to fuck it up for those people. Yeah, like he's burden shifting by asking me to like come up with some sort of better solution. But my better solution is to simply be more fucking cautious. Anyway, if you enjoy the show, if you think that was a productive conversation, I don't really know if that was a productive conversation, but if you like how I navigated it, you can support the show by following me on the other platforms for free. Linktree in the bio. You can follow the backup account here for when this one eventually gets banned for something silly. And if you want to support the show monetarily, you can send me money on Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon. And Buy Me a Coffee is international if you're not in the US and you want to help out. But I'll read some donations before we move on to the next caller, because David, not the regular David, different David, sent $25 to say, don't be sad for Lady G, Oscar. He's happy where he is, looking up from us somewhere in hot, sweaty, full of men, from somewhere hot, sweaty, and full of men. Yeah, talking about star member of the LGBTQ community, Lindsey Graham, who I'm happy to mock the death of because Trump mocks the death of people he doesn't like all the time. So I'm making a point of doing that. David, the other David that everybody knows, sent $5 to say, somebody take away psycrowbob's AI girlfriend. She's feeding him AI propaganda. Dude, you gotta wonder, all these people who trust AI like this, they're the guys who have AI girlfriends, right? Like that's what's going on. JD sent $5 on Buy Me a Coffee to say, quantum computing isn't faster, it's different. We already have and are starting to use quantum safe crypto algorithms. Yeah, good. It sounds like he knows a little bit more about it than I do. And that was the thing I was saying. It's like, why do you think that if we get more quantum computing happening, like suddenly we're gonna like solve cryptography? Like that's just not how it fucking works. Jesus Christ. You can't. I have good knowledge of AI because I've worked on AI technology a lot. You're not gonna ChatGPT University yourself into understanding it. Like, go read a fucking book, dude. Like, unless you know how to like solve a matrix on paper, then maybe you probably don't understand AI technology. You probably shouldn't be fucking talking about it so confidently. We're gonna talk to Carl Bismarck. Are those all the announcements? Those are all the announcements. We're gonna talk to Carl Bismarck. Hello, how old are you?
Hey, I am 40 years old. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You're a Trump supporter?
Well, yes and no. How about that?
I get that a lot, and usually what that means to me is that you voted for him and you do still want him to be president because there's some things you really care about him doing that Kamala Harris wouldn't have done, but you recognize that he's doing some reprehensible, horrible, inexcusable stuff. Have I clocked it?
Well, I think that every president in my lifetime has always been that way, right?
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think that's fair to say.
All right. Well, then it's not fair to say what president was perfect.
I didn't say they were all perfect.
Well,
this is black and white thinking because reprehensible, and there's a lot of middle ground between reprehensible and inexcusable and perfect. Would you agree?
Well, you're saying black and white thinking like I just love Trump and I can't do anything
That's
but
not
love
what I
Trump.
said. That's not at all what I said. I actually said that I expected you to say that he has done some reprehensible, inexcusable things.
Yes, 100%. That's why I said I like him, but I don't like him. But you're telling me that I'm black and white. I'm not telling you you're black and white. You're telling me I'm black and white.
Okay, man. I didn't say. I say all the time on this show that the other presidents aren't perfect. We can find some horrible things
You're
that all of them did.
Sir, you're telling me because I voted for Trump and I said I don't like some of the stuff he's doing and it's irreprehensible, that you're lumping me in with MAGA, right?
I don't think I said that. No, I don't think you're listening.
I am listening. You were literally telling me, you were judging me off one thing. You gave me a definition of who I am because I voted for Trump.
I actually said, like, you joined the call and I said, this is a sort of call that I think I get a lot. I gave a description and then I asked you directly if you felt it was a good description of what your position was because I wanted to make sure I understood it well.
Well, let me give you my description so that way you don't have to interpret it for me, okay? I voted for Trump. Okay, you ready? Okay, I voted for Trump because I didn't like Kamala Harris. I didn't like anything Biden.
Do you know how her name is pronounced, or are you doing that on purpose?
Kamala.
That's not how it's pronounced.
Kamala. I apologize. Kamala.
Thank you.
Is that really important to you right now in this moment?
It's not as big a deal when people do it by mistake, but a lot of people do it on purpose, and I just like to know which it is.
Man, you and my ex-wife have a lot in common because that's just a little prick right there when we're trying to talk
accountability is hard.
Accountability, there's no accountability. You're not the judge and the jury and the police for the words that we say. It's just a communication point. That's fine. We can keep talking if you want to, though.
I'd like to go back to what you were saying. I'm sorry we derailed on the Kamala thing.
Okay. I don't like Biden. I didn't like George W. Bush. I liked Bill Clinton. See, the problem is in American politics, okay, it has become so polar opposite. It has become a bipolar nation. And you want to know why? It's because Kamala Harris was an idiot, okay? She was an absolute idiot. And if you don't like the results of what happened, find somebody better because she got destroyed. Am I wrong with that?
I'm sorry. That doesn't have anything to do with like what we started talking about.
No, it does. I'm saying that I like the middle ground. But for some reason, you don't want to admit that some people that voted for Trump wanted the middle ground. That doesn't mean we love him.
I think that's nonsense. I think that if we're going to talk about the American political space, I got a harassment and bullying flag for what? Is it for you? I gotta remove you. Try again another day, Carl. Sorry, that one's fun.
Why?
If you want, you can go to my YouTube and you can see that I'm hovering my mouse over a button that says "Remove Carl Bismarck." Because
why?
Do you want me to read the message to you? It's telling me why.
What am I bullying? How am I bullying?
I didn't decide this. TikTok did. Do you want me to read the message to you?
Sure, I'd love to learn what I'm doing wrong.
Well, they don't tell us. It's a little mysterious, so you kind of just have to learn how to deal with it. But they said, Carl Bismarck's live content contains themes that some may find uncomfortable. If they remain in your live will be unavailable to some audiences. So I have clicked remove to make sure that the show keeps getting promoted. I don't agree with that decision. I would have preferred to continue talking to Carl. I don't want to run. Please call back in tomorrow or any other day. I think I'll remember you. We can pick up where we left off. Sorry, and I also forgot to read the YouTube Super Chats. That's my bad, everybody. So I will go through those now. Oh my gosh, did I miss like a whole fucking mess of them? Whoa. Okay, hold on. Where were we? Because Tim David sent me $5 to say, because the infant learning machine can be taught to give away secrets, maybe don't give it the brand new technology access to the deepest secrets. Maybe. Yeah, that was on the AI conversation. Jazz sent $5 to say, just arrived, but data centers are dumping deadly bacteria into the drinking water of the areas they are built in. There is no cost benefit justifier. I agree. I brought up some of that stuff. Katie Myers sent $5 to say, if you love your data centers so much, caller, you put them in your backyard. Yeah, I don't think he's the type to put his money where his mouth is. Jen sent $2 to say, how dare you talk on your talking show? Yeah, because he was upset about me talking over him. Gotta guide the conversation. Generally, because I'm also host and moderator, I need to talk a little bit more than 50% on most calls. Sometimes not. Different Jen sent $2 to say, AI has been used greatly in med training and surge. Yeah, that did bring that up. Man, I was really behind on these. Sorry, everybody. I lapsed my attention for a moment. See, I don't have my producer. Jessie and Raven are busy today, so I'm on my own. I blame their absence and my ADHD for not noticing. One Tall Queer sent $5 on YouTube Super Chat to say, caller is 100% using ChatGPT on their phone while letting it hear your audio. I'm letting mine do that, and he's doing the same thing. LMAO. Yeah. I mean, his tone change when I accused him directly to me flagged my lie detector. He knew he was got. Hi-Fi Mike said, W for Hank Hill. Perfect. Thank you for the $2. Tim Davidson sent $5 to say they will take their buttons and invest. They will take their billions and invest in AI to make themselves trillions. How is this beneficial for the 99%? Basically, my argument packaged into one little YouTube super chat. Thank you for the $5, Tim. Kronos sent $2 to say on launch. That was a fun call. LOL. I think he was talking about the previous call, not the immediate previous one, the one before that. And then for $2, Elusive Viper said, "Who did this guy support in the primary?" Yeah, Carl. I didn't want to kick Carl. I wanted to keep talking to Carl, but I like that the way we're doing the YouTube VODs now is it does show the message on the screen. So if anybody ever doubts that I'm getting a message from TikTok that says something, it's center screen on the YouTube VOD. You can go find it live. You can rewind the YouTube VODs live while the show is still going. David sent $5 on Venmo to say, is this guest related to David the Bitch? Getting major bitch vibes. I was getting major bitch vibes from that previous caller. He was really emotional instead of there was a lot of gaslighting. He was upset about his ex-wife. If I remind you of your ex-wife, I'm glad you're divorced. Do we have any others? I think we do. We've got to buy me a coffee from Canadian Vicky, who sent me $25. Thank you, Canadian Vicky. She said, dropping in when I can. Also, guy can't even pronounce her name right. It's just rude. What if we all just started calling out names like they did in the Key and Peele sketch? I don't know the sketch. Maybe I'll have to look it up. I think that's all of them. Linktree in the bio, Discord, follow me on the other platforms, Venmo, buy me a coffee, Cash App, Patreon. Those are the ways. The show runs on donations, and it's been running very well on donations because I've been able to hire people to help me run the show, and that's huge. Carl Bismarck, I can't have you back up today. I know it's just a 10-minute restriction, but I actually make the global rule. This is one thing TikTok means I have to remove you for 10 minutes, but out of safety for my account, I'm not going to have you back because I don't know what it is that caused you to flag, and it might just be something that the algorithm's upset about today because, guess what? AI is mysterious, and we can't actually know how it works. TikTok probably doesn't even know how it works. They just train it in a way that aligns their profit margins or whatever. So yeah, we're gonna bring IowaGolfer back up to check back in because the only other person in the queue other than Carl Bismarck who's banned for just today, not officially banned on TikTok, just banned by me. I'm not gonna click the button to accept him in. The only other person in the queue is Popcorn. I think Popcorn's banned. IowaGolfer, what's up?
Hey, sorry about earlier. My phone had a stroke apparently.
Yeah, no worries. I figured it was something like that. You want to play some golf in what was it, Mankato?
Mankato. So there's a tournament coming up in Mankato that I've got a strong chance of actually qualifying for. But if I do qualify for it, then I'll give you a call and I don't know, I'll maybe meet you halfway or something.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, I don't mind. I haven't been down to Mankato in a while. I could go, do some shopping or something. Go hit the random couple of hit a couple of the thrift stores down there that I like. But yeah, shoot me a text message.
So that's actually not the only reason I came up.
Yeah, what's up?
So I actually saw a view on this earlier because my view on abortion, right? Generally I support the overturning of Roe v. Wade, but I actually saw something today that where, it was like an equality debate when it came to abortion. Actually, well, men aren't able to have abortions, so women, I don't really know how to explain it very well, but if they were to reinstate Roe v. Wade, would you also be in support of outlawing child support?
No.
Why?
Because I think that there's something that's equal about the contribution that each parent makes to the creation of a child, and there's something that's unequal about it. And because of that, This is just one of those things where Mother Nature gave us a loadout that isn't fair. So we're dealing with a thing that just on the face of it isn't fair because of Mother Nature. So we have to write some rules that maybe equalize it. And the thing that's fair is that two people contribute pretty equally to causing a pregnancy to happen, assuming it was a consensual situation. I feel very differently about situations where it wasn't consensual. Yeah. And it is for that reason that I think that men should be on the hook for having made that mistake. It is because of the already unfair state of affairs that I allow a rule that disproportionately benefits the woman in this case, which is that she is the one who gets to make the decision. You might have heard me talk about utilitarianism, which is this normative structure of ethics where we look at the effect on society. Have you heard some of those words from me before?
I don't believe so.
Do you know what utilitarianism? Do you know what utilitarianism is?
It flew over my head. I don't.
Well, utilitarianism is like, when you learn your Philbro nonsense at college. It's not nonsense. I really love philosophy. When you learn that, there's a bunch of different ways that we can look at ethics, and a really popular one is called utilitarianism. And utilitarianism is about increasing the benefit for society based on what you do. You actually look at the outcomes of your actions instead of being like, oh, I think this action's wrong. Never mind. Actions can't be wrong. It's only the outcomes on society that we care about. We have to measure that in some way. I like to measure it in suffering or prosperity or something like that. It gets a little hairy, because it's hard to weigh suffering in a quantifiable way. But we can go oh, this is good for society because it reduces suffering, or this is bad for society because it increases suffering. But there's some problems with utilitarianism, and one of them is addressed by this thing that happened in the latter half of the 20th century. This guy by the name of John Rawls had a critique on utilitarianism where he said utilitarianism is kind of cool, but we should be allowed to make rules that advantage groups who are at the start, before we made the rule, already disadvantaged. And this little difference where we have child support for fathers because they contributed to conception, but we give the power to the woman to determine whether or not he remains on the hook for that, that is an exception to utilitarianism of the sort that John Rawls presented. And I support the Rawlsian critique on utilitarianism, because I believe that it satisfies utilitarianism better, because such rules do make the world a better place on average.
So basically, I just want to make sure you understood my question the way I asked it, right?
Yeah.
So women have the right to choose what they do with their child, whether they want to abort it or have it. Okay, fine. Why does the man not have the right to choose whether he wants to financially support that child or not? So it'd be the same thing if a man. It's a financial abortion for a man, is what it is.
Right, exactly. So, and I recognize that there's this situation that can happen where you have a woman who's pregnant, a man who maybe wants her to get an abortion, and he's sitting there, fingers crossed, hoping he doesn't have to pay that child support, but she decides to keep the baby and fuck him over with the child support. And what I'm saying is that he already made the mistake that made it just for him to have to pay that. It's not on her to rescue him from it. She simply has the option to, but because of the degree to which a pregnancy affects her body in a way that it doesn't affect the man's, I yield to that first, because that makes her the disadvantaged group between the two of them. Yeah. So I'm okay with the rule that hurts the other party because they were the one who was advantaged in the first place by the state of affairs, just by the way pregnancies work, by the way the biology works, which none of us decided.
So you are okay with that situation being unfair then?
Life isn't fair. It's shitty. I wish there was equality between men and women in all sorts of domains, including parenthood and pregnancy. There just isn't. So we have to write policy that addresses that.
That would be equality, correct? It'd be the same as a man not having the obligations of having a child to a woman not having the obligations of having a child.
This is why the Rawlsian critique is so important to me, because if you're going to say that it's unequal to give the woman the right to make that choice and not absolve the man of his need for child support, what you're suggesting is that the rules have to be fair because that's what fair is, whereas Rawls said the rules can be unfair because the foundation that you're setting them on is already unfair. Would you say that if child support didn't exist, the idea of an unwanted pregnancy, that sort of situation, however it arises, is just necessarily by the way Mother Nature turned out, the way evolution turned out? I don't know if you believe in evolution, but as a matter of fact, would you agree that it is just a little unfair that the woman has to be the one to carry the baby?
Is it unfair that the woman has to carry the baby? I mean, it's just kind of the way it worked out, I guess. I've never really thought of it as fair or unfair. Well, it's just nature.
Well, you're a father. Your wife gave birth, a month ago?
Yep.
Was it fair that she had to do that instead of you?
I guess not. I don't know.
Well, so here's what's interesting about your ethics.
My wife loved everything about it. I mean,
Scout, you're going to unplug something important. Well, yeah, we are.
W Scout.
W Scout. Don't unplug anything important. No, this is really interesting because I understand you pretty well, Iowa. For everybody listening, me and Iowa go way back. You and I have talked for like dozens of hours at this point. I think I understand what's going on with you, which is that a lot of the time when people look at fairness, they think that somebody has to be responsible for something becoming unfair. You're looking for somebody to blame, but you're right. There's nobody to blame for it being unfair on the woman. It's just, that's life. Life is unfair, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying...
The thing is that when you call life unfair, you can't just say, well, life's unfair. You know, you can't just use that for some things and not be willing to use that for other things.
What I'm saying is that we have to consider how unfair life is in the first place when we make rules. So if the rule, but without considering that life isn't fair, the rule does look really unfair about making men pay child support. But if you consider how unfair Mother Nature is to women in the first place, it's actually closer to equalizing the playing field. Oh, men might have to pay child support that they didn't have a decision about, aborting the thing that would have caused them to pay child support. But women have to go to term. Women have to risk their life. Child mortality rates are shrinking, but historically they've been a problem. And medical technology's gotten better. Women have to worry about things like ectopic pregnancies. Women have to worry about their bodies changing in a way that they really struggle with. A lot of people who care about their bodies maybe take care of themselves or, wherever they are with their body image issues or anything like that. Like pregnancy is really difficult. They have to deal with all of the hormonal changes that come with them not really identifying with themselves in the way they're used to in their life. And that can lead to things like postpartum where their chemistry is all out of whack and they have to there's a whole mess of shit that women have to deal with. And that's just life being unfair because Mother Nature's a cold bitch and doesn't care about life being fair. She only cares about it going on. So the fact that women have been subjugated by how Mother Nature created our anatomy through evolution, that's the foundation we're starting with. So when I hear that a rule is a little unfair on the very much already advantaged by the biology group, I consider that a solution, not making the situation more unfair. It's making it less unfair.
I see. And I do just want to clear something up. I generally don't pay attention to the chat a whole lot, but a lot of people are saying if the father just signs away their rights, they can still be ordered to pay child support. That's nonsense. And
I'm not personally super educated on how child support works.
Personally attacking my wife, I find that reprehensible, and I'd ask that you not do that.
I would also say don't fucking do that. I think that IowaGolfer is a really interesting caller, and I say this with him on the line all the time. That I think that a lot of people who hold certain more reprehensible beliefs are coming from a really evil place. I think IowaGolfer just wants to understand this stuff. And when when my first attempt at explaining this to him didn't work a moment ago, I believe with my heart it's because he didn't understand me, not because he wasn't listening, which is why I politely tried again. Don't be mean to Iowa.
Good God.
I don't think that's appropriate. I've talked to Iowa about his baby. I think he's really excited about his baby. I think that his upbringing has him twisted up about some of this stuff, and we're really trying to get down to the nitty gritty because I do just believe that the specific thing that I learned about you today that was really interesting, IowaGolfer, is that you just, without somebody to blame, you didn't really notice how unfair the state of affairs was at the beginning, but because there is somebody to blame, the lawman for requiring child support or whatever. Because by the way, he's not. I know IowaGolfer personally enough to know you're not worried about paying child support, are you?
No, not at all.
Yeah, he's just trying to understand the issues. This is a guy who's excited about his newborn baby. And how old's your other kid? I know you have a daughter as well, right?
She's gonna be 2 in September.
Yeah, no, this guy's not a deadbeat dad at all. He also works his ass off. Don't levy the accusations. I think that I will criticize my own chat and I will criticize my own side of the political spectrum and say that it is such a waste of time and space in the debate space that people throw people like IowaGolfer to the weeds when he's somebody who's really trying to understand this stuff. And because he trusts me to operate in good faith and really try to get through to him in that way, he keeps calling into my show. And I see him on other panels all the time, and I often have to come up and defend him because he gets pummeled for honestly just often not understanding. And that's what good faith is trying to understand. So I have said many times, IowaGolfer, you've got some beliefs I think are real bad, real problematic. I'm so glad you keep calling in and trying to get to the bottom of them with me. I believe it to be good faith.
Yeah, like I said, I'm willing to change my mind on certain things. I mean, it's nothing set in stone with me. I have some strong beliefs about some things, just the same as other people have strong beliefs that things that I don't really understand or I don't agree with, but that's fine. Like I said, I saw that argument used and I thought it was really interesting, but I find it kind of interesting that you kind of take that position with it, but I understand why you do when you explain it the way you did.
Yeah, I think the thing that the chat is upset about is that you didn't automatically weigh the suffering of the woman enough. And that is, I think, like categorically the problem across the board with people's like approach to abortion as a topic and related matters, like things like child support. So like, you know, I can even see like some of the chat is like upset with me for defending you, but it's not even that I'm defending you. It's that I'm defending this being a productive conversation that isn't benefited by people being mean to you, even if they are righteously upset about some of the things that you're saying. I'm just not here for catharsis. I'm not here to be upset about all this stuff. I am grievously upset that people think about this the way that you do, IowaGolfer. I just value your contribution to the show as somebody who's good enough faith to dissect it live on air with everybody. And that's not, that goal is not achieved better by the chat being mean to you. Like, that's all I'm trying to say.
Do you think a way to make things less, or to make things more fair for the woman, would it be to make men pay child support for the child in the womb?
Sorry, ask the question again.
So do you think it would help a woman, do you think it would make things more fair for the woman to make a father pay child support while the child is still unborn, while the mother is pregnant?
I'm gonna like, my gut says no, but I'm just not. I lack expertise. Like, I'd want to ask a fucking social worker or somebody who has like real expertise in dealing with individual cases of this stuff. Like, I'm just not the right guy to ask that question to. Am I understanding the question properly? Are you saying start the child support like during the pregnancy and still after the instead of after the birth? Is that what you were proposing?
Yeah. Start child support if you're gonna keep the child, to make things easier for the woman and less unfair, like you said, because she has to carry the pregnancy. You know, it's unfair for her to have to carry the pregnancy. Well, let's start child support. Boom, conception. You're paying child support now.
Right, but when you go boom, it like acts like it's as clean a solution. But there's no amount of money that can change the fact that.
But it would help.
Well, it might not. The issue that she's facing might really be something that just isn't at all addressed by money. So it's not.
So then, do we need to weigh out needs of a woman who has a child on whether their need is money or not? Then, because then you're asking, well, is child support necessarily? You know, does that woman actually need the money, or does she need something else? So do we weigh that when the child is born then? Or do we just make them pay
I
child
see your
support
argument. Like, I don't think it's an inherently bad idea. I'm just cautious about like, requiring child support before we know that a child's going to come to term healthy. Like, yeah, I mean, like, again, I feel like we're off in the weeds when the important part of this discussion is much farther zoomed out about like, what's generally fair. Because you could argue that like, a woman becomes less able to work as she becomes more and more pregnant. She has to change her diet. There's like things about her life that are made more difficult that can maybe be fixed with money. So like, I hear the argument, but if we were going to like sit down and have a conversation about whether or not that would be a good policy, I would want to sit down with some people who are really knowledgeable about how child support works and how we like weigh outcomes for child support. I don't even know how the amount for child support is calculated. Like, I'm just not an expert enough.
It's based on the percentage of the income.
Yeah. I know it like makes a difference what the guy makes, but I don't have like comprehensive, intimate knowledge of it. And I'm just not at all qualified to sit here and say what I think would be an improvement or a detriment to the current state of affairs with child support, which also like varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So it's just like messy, but like we're not talking about whether the exact rules that are in place are good or bad. That's a super nuanced discussion that I'm unqualified to have. We're just talking about whether or not it's fair to have this sort of system at all. And I think my broader argument that it is a strong one.
But do you see where I'm coming at with this though? That's all I'm asking, is that I don't think I'm too far off, and I don't think I think that's a logical explanation or a logical argument to kind of have against the system that we have now.
Well, so let's put it this way. If we have this little slider that we could slide up, this little like knob to turn, right? And then turning the knob increases the amount of burden that we put on the man for child support. I think you're understanding that increasing that bar does make it more fair, given that it was unfair on the woman in the first place that she had to carry the baby. Like, that's kind of what we're thinking about. And you're asking me, well, let's turn the fucker all the way up. Is that kind of, is this a good analogy for what you're describing?
No, not really. It's just like saying that the woman had to carry the baby, right? So if the woman didn't want to carry the baby, she had the option to have an abortion. So that's where it is that if the woman doesn't want to carry the baby, she doesn't have to.
Well, hold on. What I'm saying is that if you recognized that my argument that requiring child support is corrective to an unfair state of affairs that Mother Nature gave us, right? But that doesn't mean that you can arbitrarily increase that support and it'll continue making the amount better. I would argue that whatever that amount of support is that equalizes the situation, there's an appropriate level for it to go to, and I am not even like slightly qualified to guess what that is. I just don't even know. So when you give me a slightly more outlandish thing like, ooh, maybe we should start child support even earlier because being pregnant is so difficult, I can see your reasoning, but whether or not the slider should be moved like that, I just don't know. I don't have any opinions about it. And again, the chat's demanding that we bring up a woman. Do we? Oh, I think we do actually have
just the meat and potatoes of this. I'm gonna wrap this all up into one quick thing, right?
Yeah. I'll hear you out, but I'll wait really quick. I'm just gonna greet Gemini for hopping in. Thanks for hopping up.
Hi, gentlemen. How are y'all? Thanks for having me up.
Absolutely.
Hi, Gemini.
Hi. You were gonna summarize your whole thesis here, I think.
Oh, I didn't want to interrupt you. Sorry. So, like I said, this is my view on it, right? And I understand that Oskar has the unfair analogy where, well, she has to carry the pregnancy, so it's not fair, right? I'm not saying that we do that now. I'm saying that what could make something more equal, maybe not fair, but more equal, is you reinstate Roe v. Wade, right? Women have the right to choose with their own body. Okay. To make things more equal, men should have the right to choose whether or not they want to supply for that or not.
So I have a couple.
It's the same thing for me. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. That's what's equal.
So I think Oscar's done, first of all, a great job of explaining how it's inherently unequal from the start, right? So I'm not sure.
I believe
if that moved the needle
unfair.
for you.
Unfair.
Okay. Either way, I'd consider those synonymous. But so there's a couple things. I will say that I'm trying to figure out what it is that you actually believe, because I'm not sure you are coming into this. Not that you're disingenuous, but do you actually believe that men should be able to opt out of child support?
No, I don't.
Right. Okay. So that's what I thought, is I don't think you're actually making a sincere argument, but I think what you're maybe trying to imply is that women should be forced to carry pregnancies.
So that's not my position on it whatsoever. My position on it, and I've said this several times on Oscar's show, and I get nailed on it every time, which is fine. I understand that we all have different views on it. I supported the overturn of Roe v. Wade. That's my view on it. I do have, what do you call it? Not excuses. There's certain things that I don't find wrong with having an abortion.
Okay. Okay. But so just to be clear, though, just to make sure that I'm tracking, you're not actually arguing that men should be able to get out of child support. Your argument is that women shouldn't be able to, quote unquote, get out of pregnancy, right?
Well, no. So the whole reason I even brought this up is that I've always found the Democratic Party to be the party that chants for, women's rights and equality and all that stuff. And my whole thing about it is if we want
and
equality,
you support that or no?
Yeah, absolutely, I support that.
Okay, great.
But what I'm saying is that if you truly want equality, then the man has to have the equal opportunity that the woman has.
But it's not equal, right? For the reasons that Oscar mentioned, it's already inherently unequal. But here's the other thing.
If Roe v. Wade is reinstated, hang on, this is important. If Roe v. Wade is reinstated, the woman has the right to opt out of that pregnancy, correct?
Yes.
Now, if it's reinstated, the man, what would make that equal is if the man had the right to not be involved in that pregnancy whatsoever, whether that be being there as a father figure or whether that means having to have orders to pay child support.
There's also, though, there's a big difference between pregnancy and when you have a fully formed child who's legally granted personhood on the other side, of which you or a man is the biological father. So in other words, once that child is here, women also can't walk away from their obligations from that child, right? And neither can men. So there's a difference. There's a difference between terminating a pregnancy and walking away from your responsibilities of caring for or seeing to the needs of a child.
Well, I'd also add that, like, at that point in the conversation, Iowa, you've like forgotten the fact that the whole situation was still unfair for the woman to begin with, and you're like looking at this little bit of unfairness in the narrow scope of like what responsibilities men and women have later on. And I just think it's important to not forget that.
The thing is that do we look for fairness or do we look for equality?
Well,
I'm not sure we need to parse the semantics down to that.
Yeah, my point is that
this is important though. Do you want fairness or do you want equality?
What I'm saying is that we have to include the state of affairs that Mother Nature gave us when we weigh the fairness, whereas you're only looking at the rules. Because if we only look at the rules, I see your argument for the rules being like unfair on the man, but but the amount of unfairness that Mother Nature gave us in the first place is so great that I don't care about that disparity.
And I generally prefer the term equity, by the way. Just in general, because that tends to take into these other circumstances that Oscar's.
So do you want men and women to have the same? Do you want there to be equity between men and women? The same thing. Men and women are equal. Do you want that?
I think that we should have equal rights. I believe very much in the 14th Amendment for equal protections under the law.
Okay. Now, if we reinstate Roe v. Wade, there is a protection there where if you do not want to have a child, you are protected from that. You don't have to have a child. Men don't have that same protection right now, unless that was put into law. That,
Iowa,
no,
if you're pregnant, I support your right to get an abortion too. How about that?
You're not listening.
Well,
no, I am.
It sounds like no. I want to just explain it for Iowa because, like, the point, like, it's a bit of a sassy thing to say, but the point is that, like, we have protections under law for dealing with pregnancies. People who deal with pregnancies are given that protection in the world that we want, where abortion is available to people. That does happen to be women because it's unfair that Mother Nature put that problem in the lap of women. We could look at being responsible for a child that you're the parent of as a completely separate issue, which is much more equal, and that's why we require child support.
That's exactly right. And Iowa, honestly, paying child support, that's a pittance compared to doing the parenting, which is often unpaid labor. And that does fall disproportionately to women after the child is born. So men get off easy all the time. And there's no recourse for that in a lot of cases. Child support honestly doesn't make up for it.
Well, the child support isn't made to help with.
It's not made to compensate women.
Yeah, no,
it's not made to compensate women for the labor
it's for
that
the child.
Right. It's for covering some basic needs, but it doesn't come close to touching to compensating women for what ends up being unpaid labor of parenting that we disproportionately shoulder. So I think I just would like to take it back to where I don't think you're a disingenuous person at all. And I think this is a good conversation, but I do think some aspects of your foundation and your argument are a little disingenuous because you're not actually proposing that men shouldn't have to pay childcare. You're saying that there's something unfair about women being able to have access to abortions.
No, what I'm asking, the whole premise of this is that should men and women have equality through the law?
I think we've established this. We agree, right?
So you do agree that you think men and women should be equal?
Any pregnant person, and men can be pregnant, by the way. Transgender men, any pregnant person should have access to an abortion.
Did you say a cisgender man can be pregnant?
Transgender men can be pregnant.
Transgender men. So I'm saying any person under the law should have access to an abortion. It just so happens that in almost all cases, that's women. Yeah. And I don't think there's anything unfair about that.
Every woman should be able to have the right to not have the burden of having a child.
Yes. Okay. To be pregnant. Yes. To be pregnant. It's not so much getting out of parenthood. That's not really it. It's
the same thing.
No person should be forced to give birth and go through pregnancy.
No person should be forced to have a child. Okay. Understandable.
Yeah.
Right?
But
that's your position. No person should be forced to have a child.
Correct.
Well,
but once there's a child,
I see what Iowa's trying to do here, maybe, which is like should you be forced
to have the burden?
Well, hold on. I just want to make sure, because when you say you're falling back on this, no person should be forced to have a child, but I think I see what you're doing, which is that you're putting this umbrella of have a child to include both carrying the child and parenting the child. And what we're saying is that legally we're handling those as two separate issues, and it is just one of the parties that is dealt the unfair hand of having to deal with the pregnancy and the birthing. So we have rules that address that. That are like, what they are, because it's just a fucking bummer that women have to carry the baby instead of the man. And then separately, after all that's done, we have this issue of providing for the child, which often it's easier for the man to not do because they have a 9-month head start on getting away from it.
Any man be forced to provide for a child?
Yeah, I think so. I believe in child support.
Should any woman be forced to provide for a child?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's rare just because of the way that like the social structures of it work out and that kind of thing about how the woman carries the child. And I think that like emotionally, it's harder for a woman to give up a child than it is for a man. I think that the psychologists would agree with me on that, just because of like postpartum and all that stuff.
I do want to specify this. I think
just to wrap up my point, I think I can perfectly imagine the situation where a woman carries a child but doesn't want to parent it, and the man steps up and is like the primary caregiver, and then the woman has to pay child support. Like
correct,
because the rules there are the same. It just doesn't usually happen to work out that way. But again, it's not because of the rules that's the case. It's just because of the way it works out for people. Because at the end of the day, neither of the systems, whether we're talking about addressing pregnancies or addressing parenting, neither of the systems have one-sided rules. It's just that we want the rules to allow people to abort pregnancies if they don't want to do them. Happens to be uteruses that those rules end up being applicable to. People with uteruses that those rules end up being applicable to. And then the concerns about making sure that parenting is fair and you don't abandon a child that you're responsible for the conception of, that is something that we do fairly. It's just that as a matter of how the human condition works out, it is usually the man who wants to leave and ends up paying that bill. But just because that's the way that turns out doesn't mean that the rule is in any way unfair for the genders.
So, okay, so you're saying that you have consensual sex, you should have to pay child support when the child is born.
That's the part where each party equally make a mistake. If it is a mistake, if they're gonna call it a mistake, if any one of them is gonna call it a mistake, that's when the mistake is made. Separately, it sucks that the woman has to be pregnant.
Yeah,
once the woman doesn't have to be pregnant
if she doesn't want to. That's what I want.
Correct.
So if she doesn't want it. Do you guys see where your argument it doesn't equal? It doesn't equal.
Right, but that gets us all the way back to the beginning before Gemini's up, where I can say that it is unfair that the man gets to sit there crossing his fingers on the decision that the woman is going to make about him having to pay child support if she aborts the child or not. I recognize that that's unfair for the man. Let's give that 20 unfairness points. I see that that's shitty for the man. I think having to carry the child is like 800 unfairness points, so I don't care about the 20.
It's not. I'm not on the fair, not fair. I agree. It's unfair. But women, the Democratic Party has always stood on equity, equality. We want the same rights, the same thing. We want to be able, the whole feminism movement even. I think feminism is a great thing. I really do. I think women can do anything a man can do. Wouldn't recommend doing a lot of the things that a man can do, but I think you could. Like, don't try and take a piss on a campfire. I think it's a bad idea.
Sure. Okay.
I don't see again, going back to equal protection under the law.
Do you think there is a difference between fairness and equity? Is there a difference?
Yeah, yes, but I think that if we're looking, hold on,
equity.
That's what I'm trying to say is I think in terms of equal access and equal protection under the law, I don't see a contradiction here, because pregnancy doesn't apply to men, cisgender men, right? And so it doesn't apply, period. But then on the other side of it, when it comes to parenting, child support, and the laws and regulations governing that, it applies equally to men and women. If I want to walk away from a child and pay child support, and I have there's a co-parent that I guess is willing to be the one to shoulder the burden of the parenting, I'm going to pay child support. Sounds pretty fair and equal, as it's going to get, right? Which, let's also be pragmatic about it. It often is not, just in terms of how these things shake out. But in terms of legal principles, I think that's about the best we're going to get.
So you think the closest we're going to get to equal is a woman carrying a child that a father doesn't want to take care of, and then hoisting child support payments on him. You think that's the closest to equal?
What's being hoisted upon whom, if we're being real, though?
Child support burden.
Child support burden is again a pittance compared to parenting burden.
Does it make a difference whether it's a pittance or not?
Oh, hello. Hi.
Hi, Jessie.
I just want to say literally every argument is invalid that I've heard so far, and I'm going to tell you why, and you guys can kick me if you don't agree. That's fine. Abortion has existed longer than government has. And abortion access will never be restricted for those in power or those who have money. So all we are doing ever when we restrict abortion is disadvantaging marginalized groups.
Yep.
I'd agree with that.
That is point blank, period. If a politician today had an unwanted pregnancy, we would never hear of it. But if somebody in a poor neighborhood had an unwanted pregnancy in the South, they would have to carry it all the way to term. And that's the problem. It will never, and if you are truly, truly pro-life, and I believe this with my whole chest, if you are pro-life, then you are pro the mother's life too. And you understand that the elite will never have to make the choice of like, oh, do I try and run away and have this? No, they will always have access to a safe abortion somewhere. So if you are pro-life, you want people in marginalized communities to be able to make this choice with a way that they can do it safely, because otherwise they will drink the special herbs that they need to do it. They will employ a thing we usually use to hold up our jackets.
Right.
It will forever and ever exist. So all we are doing is arguing about poor mothers.
Yep. Agreed. Jessie, I think that's brilliant. And I think this is where a lot of times, MAGA baits their supporters into thinking that they're fighting for something righteous, when the reality is that we're almost always fighting against these bigger power structures. If you're going to talk about equity and you want to force poor women to give birth, and that's your idea of equity, you're totally missing the mark. You're missing the bigger picture.
Yeah, and to sit as kind of some of the buffer between the panel and IowaGolfer, just because I know IowaGolfer really well. Like IowaGolfer, the reason that you get so much hate in the chat during calls like this is kind of for good reason, which is that to the rest of us, it's so obvious that everything that's been brought up in this call is such a bigger issue than men having to pay child support.
I'm not saying that it is a big or a small. That's not what I'm saying. Saw this argument posed to somebody, and I thought your take on this would be interesting. And I'm actually shocked that you kind of took the take that you did, because I figured you to be kind of a feminist, and I think you are to a certain extent.
I would defend I'm a feminist. What have I said that's not that suggests I'm not? And I'm not I don't understand. I think women and men should have equal rights, right? Well, okay, this gets back to the thing that we started the whole call with, which is that remember the whole thing I explained about utilitarianism and how that guy John Rawls had this exception he put on it, where he's like, if the rule you're making is disadvantages somebody or disproportionately advantages somebody else, that is acceptable if the person who received the advantage generally is somebody who was at the onset disadvantage. And that's what we're all saying here, is that women get the short end of the stick in so many more ways than we have covered in this call. And Jessie's pointed out that it's the sort of thing that regardless of what rules that we make, people who are in power and privileged are always going to have the freedom to do whatever they want. So in addition to this issue of fairness between men and women, there's also this top and bottom issue of fairness of the wealthy elite versus the rest of us. And we're looking broadly at all of it and saying these rules make the world a less shitty place, which satisfies utilitarianism with that Rawlsian asterisk of it not being so grievous to have a particular rule that with no context looks a little bit unfair. We're just more worldly than that. We're more holistic at looking at all of the rules together, and not just all the rules, but all of the stuff we started with. The hardware that Mother Nature gave each of us is unfair. Some people have bodies that are predisposed to getting cancer or heart ailments or whatever. That's unfair. So is it unfair that I want to have social welfare system that give people who have congenital heart conditions more of our taxpayer money through medicine? No, because they had the short end of the stick to begin with. And that's the same thing with any particular rule unfairness that you can find in the way that the government regulates family planning in the ways that we're describing.
I think that there's a big hole. I think there's a big hole in that one, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't want to blow up on the panel.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Iowa, the one thing that I want you to take away from this conversation, from me specifically, is you can never, ever get rid of abortion. It will it existed before government.
I don't think I could.
Right. And I don't mean specifically. I mean, in the entirety of humanity, it will never cease to exist because people will always find a way. They have, before there was government, before it was a thing, people have always found a way to create babies in the first place. You can outlaw whatever you want. People will do it. So when you talk about restricting abortion access, that is the word I want you to fixate on. You are restricting abortion access. It is whether or not people can do it safely, not whether or not they will do it at all. I work in urgent care. I have met people who are old ladies now, but they have prolapsed uteruses because when they were young, they took it upon their own hands. Okay? This will continue to exist no matter what anyone says. So I just want it to be safe.
Not to mention the fact that men frequently, really frequently, it's very dangerous for a woman to be pregnant because men will unalive women to get out of them having their children.
That is so real. Yeah. It's something that literally keeps me awake at night, is that men afraid of being fathers will take it into their own hand. Oh God, sorry. Yeah. As someone who works in healthcare, this is a very touchy subject for me because I just see those marginalized groups who are affected by their inability to access safe means of healthcare.
Yeah.
I kind of want to jump off of that statement that you just made because I would like to know your view on this.
Okay.
So, a man murdering his wife or a man murdering his girlfriend because he doesn't want her to have a child.
Yep.
If she's pregnant, do you think he should be charged with a double homicide or double murder?
No.
You don't?
No.
He killed.
It can be like an aggravating factor maybe that's taken into consideration. But yeah, I don't grant personhood to fetuses personally.
I don't either, and I would add to that like at the end of the day, does it really matter how many counts of capital murder? I think the sentence is the more important number, which is why it being an aggravating factor might be considered by the judge when they do the sentencing. Would you say the sentencing is more important there than the number of murder counts? The murder counts thing is just kind of semantic. The sentencing matters, is what I'm saying.
That's what I say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, what I'm saying is if you have like one case of second degree murder or two cases of second degree murder, that's a big difference. You know,
right.
That's 30 to 60 years. I mean, that's a big difference.
But a judge might look at it and consider the fact that it was done because she was pregnant as an aggravating factor and give the top end of the sentence instead of the bottom end of the sentence. So whether it was charged either way, we could get to the same sentence through different legal means, depending on what exactly the homicide laws are in that state. What I'm saying is that it doesn't fundamentally matter to my ethics whether or not it's one or two counts. What matters is the consequences for the perpetrator of the crime, which would be the sentence. So that's what I care most about. We could argue to death about how to add it all up, but I just care about what the actual consequences are, which kind of gets us back to utilitarianism.
Iowa, I would say I am pro-life because no amount of people getting killed I think is ever okay. So whether somebody kills one or two people does not matter to me. I am pro-life because I think we shouldn't kill people at all.
But you don't consider unborn humans or unborn children people.
Correct.
Yeah, that's where me and you differ.
I know, but one of us has a degree in healthcare. Yeah.
I don't have a degree in healthcare. I have several certificates, but that doesn't make a difference.
For your background.
Oh, that's right. You're an EMT.
You're an EMT for 10 years. Ooh,
clocked.
Yeah.
That's super clocked. How many babies have you had to provide emergency medical care on? How many unborn fetuses?
Delivered 2 babies.
Yep, because you delivered them. Those are humans.
Yeah. Well, they're human no matter if they're born or not.
Right.
I think Jessie's clapback was an effective one, that you don't have experience with like dealing with pregnancies.
Oh, I absolutely do. My wife has been through 4 of them. We've had 2 beautiful children through them.
You don't have your medical expertise that you bring. You do have some medical expertise. It's not in dealing with these sorts of issues.
Yeah, I'm saying that when we provide life-saving care, that's when the baby's out. That's when the life-saving goes to the baby. Otherwise, it's attempting to save a pregnancy.
Yeah, that's fine. We just differ on views of things, and that's fine.
I will forever put the woman in front of the fetus. I will forever refuse to let a woman become an incubator.
Yes, amen. That's feminism for sure.
Well, who is it? Was it Louis C.K. who said you can shoot
a woman to have a child?
Well, so I think it was Louis C.K. who has a joke where he says you can shoot a guy if he's in your house. Right? Like,
whoa! I don't even like Louis C.K. and I think I'm gonna steal that. Holy moly!
That's a banger of a joke, right? Like you can shoot a guy if he's in your house. But we're talking about an unthinking, brainless ball of cells in your body.
Okay, I'm gonna hop off because, like I said, my stance has been put out there. Like I said, I beg you to just think about the word access to abortion before you think about abortion as a whole.
Nice to meet you, Jessie. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Gemini.
Jessie, when am I expecting you today? Goodbye. Never mind. Text me. Jessie is like the assistant producer of this show. She comes in and does
awesome. Amazing.
She was up late with a family function. If she wasn't, she'd be sitting across the room, like doing the chat work for me and stuff.
Oh, nice. Okay. Cool.
W Jessie. Staff here at the Oskar Quentin Show. In an hour. I see her in the chat. Thank you, Jessie. Yeah, I mean that's really what it comes down to. Like you're so stuck. I know from talking to you a lot, IowaGolfer, that you get very, very stuck on your emotional reaction to certain things, and you're just reacting so much to the loss of this precious thing that you see. This, like, because you picture a smiling baby, I picture a little ball of cells that doesn't have thoughts and feelings and hopes and dreams.
So, Oskar, I'm going to get very personal with you on this. Very personal. Me and my wife, like I said, we've been pregnant 4 times. We've had 2 successful full-term pregnancies. The first one lost very early. Second one, my wife had a miscarriage, and she was able to pass the child and everything and all the, I don't know if you'd call it the afterbirth and all that stuff at home. What I looked at when I saw her pass that was not a ball of cells that were unthinking and all that.
I know we're
I'm sorry.
I know we're
They had arms, they had legs.
Yeah.
They were a person. There was a life. It was my child.
Right.
I understand what these children look like. I understand that they're just because you want to call them something different to further your argument or your views of things, that's fine. But when you target me and say that, no, you're wrong because this is the facts, that's not how it works. It's not that nuanced.
I want to recognize, first of all, that it is exactly the feeling that you just described that I'm devastated that you had to feel, and I'm devastated you have to sit here and report that. Like, obviously, I'll give you my condolences, even though I don't recognize the personhood of what we're talking about. And it's the same thing we said earlier about, like, that feeling that you have right now is why we make it an aggravating factor on these charges.
Oskar, I want to pause you just for a second. James, you can go fuck yourself. Saying that my wife should be charged with manslaughter, you're a fucking monster.
The hell?
I think he's trying to use your own argument against you, and I think it was really shitty for him to choose to do that at this particular moment in the conversation, because we're talking about some very real shit. Grow up, chat. Because dude,
and the loss of a very much wanted pregnancy is terrible. I mean, we can be normal, empathetic humans here for a minute, right?
But sorry, I just want to finish my point, which is that what I want to recognize, though, is that the way that my ethical structure works, the way that I make all of my decisions about ethics and what the rules should be, it's based on suffering. And it sounds to me, Iowa, like you suffered, and that's unfortunate. We're restricted for harassment and bullying. Why? We're gonna ride it out. I'm not gonna remove you, IowaGolfer. We're good.
Go ahead and drop me.
No, we're good. You're the last call of the show. It's no big deal. I don't care. We're gonna finish the conversation in a couple minutes here anyway. But I'll leave you up for it. Dude, warranted. You're allowed to harass and bully somebody who says that's something like that to you at a moment like that. Like at that moment where I could hear you choking up a little bit, dude. I've spoken to you so much. I've never heard that tone of voice out of you. I know that's an honest moment. I'm not gonna fucking dog you for that. But what I'm gonna point out is that was a feeling in your brain, not a feeling in the brain of that undeveloped child. And that's what I fundamentally care about, which is why because of the unfairness of nature, I yield it to the woman, and I recognize it sucks that you have to go through shit like that sometimes in life, because life is fucking hard, and we have to make policies that make it less fucked up. But the fact of the matter is that you know, fingers and toes and toenails and heartbeats are not what make a person a person. They don't give you thoughts and feelings and suffering and pain and happiness and joy and want and all of that stuff that is so important to the human condition that we try to make rules and policies to promote the public welfare of. Remember that preamble of the Constitution. The government exists to promote the prospering of those things. And if those things aren't happening in the child, I ascribe them no rights, and I yield it to the people who can feel that way, who are in your case you and your wife. But because there's only two people and you can't get a majority vote with two people, it might be a tie. I give the woman a 51% vote because it's her body, and I'm terribly sorry that Mother Nature made it that way. But that was Mother Nature, not me. I'm sorry for you, IowaGolfer.
Drop me down. I'm about to lose.
I love you, bro.
All right.
I'm not gonna make you cry on air, dude. I love you. For all the people saying he's not gonna change, there are certain topics where it's taken me hours to get through to him, and he has changed, and then time and time again called back in and never done the most disingenuous thing that my callers do, which is call back in a week later and act like we didn't sort this out last week. When progress, my big W that I give IowaGolfer every time he's up, so people know why I'm so gentle with him, why I call him a friend, why I call him an ally to this show, why I call him an asset to this show, why I follow him back and I like to pop in and defend him on other lives, why his phone number is in my phone because I'm trying to buy the guy a beer, is because when he realizes he's wrong about something, it's permanent. And that's so incredibly rare in the debate space. The number of times I go down a deep rabbit hole and I get a concession or an obvious L out of a guest, and then I wrap my show, go lay in my bed, smoke a doobie, and then hop in a different live, and I see the same caller giving the same bad argument that I just got them to admit was bad. IowaGolfer doesn't do that. So I'm willing to sit here and talk to him for hours and hours and hours and hours because of an inch of progress made is an inch of progress kept with him, and he is the poster child of how so many Americans who aren't currently paying attention to discourse can be saved from this misinformation machine that's created some of these reprehensible beliefs that he still holds. They are dwindling. He is moving more to the center. He does not identify as a Trump supporter anymore. He is mad at Trump. He wants to tax the wealthy greatly now. He didn't when I met him. That's a fucking win. If you think this is all about like being a Trumper or being a crazy leftist and nothing in between, it's short-sighted, and you're in this for the blood sport and the W's and the L's, when really this is about outcomes in America. And IowaGolfer is somebody who I expect to not vote for harmful policies for the rest of his life because of conversations he's had with people like myself. So if you take issue with me platforming in the way that I do, you are the one who's not being productive.
Yeah, and there are times to be surgical and get in there, you know, with a scalpel, and there's times to smack people over the head with and bludgeon them. You know the ones, but just the fact that I was hearing thoughtful pauses and an ounce of reflection means that there's a productive conversation to be had, let alone that, you know, some of the people maybe who are listening. I think that's probably, Oscar, I don't know if you get, I'm sure you do, DMs from people like, hey man, I've been listening in and you've changed my mind. You've moved the needle.
People call in and tell me. I give it the airtime. It's important, you know? And for every person, it's a battle with 1,000 battlefields, all these different topics where slowly you can get somebody to see a little bit more reason. Maybe we can get IowaGolfer to relent on not taxing the wealthy, but the abortion thing is a little bit of a stickler for him. That's interesting. Let's understand that. Let's look at that. Let's put a magnifying glass. Let's not throw away this opportunity to understand why a person who, to my reckoning, just does seem to be awfully good-natured. I don't think IowaGolfer is a hateful guy. I think he's misguided, and that makes him hold some hateful positions. And that's so different than so many of my callers who are genuinely hateful and disingenuous and trying to promote these ideologies because they want to live in the white Christian ethno-state where those ideologies continue to be propagated and codified with law. But most Trump supporters,
he doesn't hate women.
No,
right?
I don't think so.
And you can smell it. You can smell it when it's born of misogyny and of true, you know, trying to put women back under, you know, your foot. And I don't think that that's happening there. So we can give time and we can, we can work with that.
Thanks for helping out. I really appreciate your contribution.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you for having me up. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work.
Thanks very much. I'm going to let you down. That's the show today, everybody. You can go to the link tree in my bio if you think I'm doing a good job navigating these things, and support me for free by following me on the other platforms. Follow the backup account so you can watch the show if it gets canceled due to the TikTok TOS, or you can send me some money on Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon so that me and Jessie and Raven, who run the show, can get paid and keep doing bigger and better things. You might notice I have a brand new webcam, bought some new gear, got better monitoring cans. We we went and spent $1,000 at Micro Center yesterday to make the show better because my needs are met. So thanks. That was exciting. I've been broke for a long time. I don't usually get to go buy exciting stuff at Micro Center. I didn't really buy anything all that exciting. I bought some stuff I've been making a list on the show needing for quite a while. But the fact that we got to do that in a way that I think is going to benefit the show long term, like, it's fucking huge. So I'll read out the remaining donations, and that'll be the show for today. David sent another $5 on Venmo to add to the conversation because he always has a good line to throw in. I bet it's stale though because I waited. I don't like interrupting conversations like that one for donations, so they've piled up a little bit. He said, what's the benefit to the child if the dad gets to opt out of support? Unlike a fetus at 20 weeks, they can suffer. That should weigh heavily. Yeah, he was chiming in from about that earlier on. Georgia sent me $10 on Venmo to say, there was no comparison between bodily autonomy and monetary responsibility. They don't equate. Yeah, I think I try to treat them as just separate issues, and it's like unfair that it's a little unfair between the two parties on that thing. But, you know, you guys all heard my argumentation on it. Evan sent $10 to say, can you split this between Gemini and Jessie somehow? Yeah, I absolutely can. Gemini, hit me up if you're still listening. I'll find you. Let me just make a post-it so I don't forget. I got you, dude. No worries. I do accept pass-through donations, even if they're a little bit of work sometimes. And Evan sent $10 to add. Oh, no, that was the one I just read. Whoops. Let's hop over to YouTube Super Chat, where Katie, for $5 on YouTube Super Chat, mentioned that Jennifer mentioned child support for fetuses would make forced births more of a thing. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. There's a pretty ugly incentive thing going on there, where, like, you wouldn't want people maintaining pregnancies to get child support. Ooh, hadn't considered that. Kronos said for $5, I have to go fry, so I won't be here for the chat for the ending. Caller, IowaGolfer, you were doing so good, but you really think this shit? That's kind of how it goes sometimes with IowaGolfer. Like, you make so much progress, and then we get stuck on something. It's like, ow, fuck. Katie Meyer sent $5 to say, when will we have the discussion of men being accountable for their actions? Yeah, accountability is important. That came up a couple times today. And Kronos sent $2 to say, W, Jessie, miss ya. Yeah, she'll be back in the producer's chair soon. She just, she was busy this weekend, so Raven took the burden. So Raven wasn't slept enough to be in for the show today, so it was just me running the show. But thanks everybody who helped out and made sure that I stayed accountable. I only missed some of the donations along the way, but I think I went back and got all the ones I missed, because I've already gotten used to having somebody in the producer chair keeping me accountable to all the different things that my attention is supposed to be on during the show. So thanks everybody for the donations. Thanks for making the show my full-time job. I'm really fucking excited that I get to do this. So I'm gonna go figure out how to Venmo Gemini $5. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 10 o'clock Central Time, here on TikTok and YouTube. Goodbye, TikTok. And goodbye, YouTube.